Susan Dey seemed to have it all: fame, beauty, and a starring role in one of America's most beloved TV families. But what if this fond memory of yours was the nightmare of Susan Dey herself? What if the one movie that you love so much was the beginning of the end for her joy and laughter? The start of stardom. Susan Dey's story feels like a classic Hollywood script: a young girl with dreams, a stroke of luck, and a sudden thrust into the spotlight. Born in Illinois in 1952, Susan grew up in a pretty normal, middle-class family. Her father was a newspaper editor, which might explain her quiet love for books and words, and her mother was a nurse. But life wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Susan. Her mother passed away when she was just 8 years old, a loss that undoubtedly shaped her early years. It's hard to imagine how a child processes that kind of tragedy, but Susan managed to navigate it, showing a quiet resilience even then. As she grew up, Susan blossomed into a striking young woman, tall and graceful, with a kind of natural beauty that photographers adored. It wasn't long before modeling agencies noticed her. By her teenage years, Susan was modeling for magazines, and while it might have seemed glamorous, the world of modeling had its own challenges. At the time, Susan was incredibly shy. Imagine being a teenager still figuring yourself out. Suddenly, you are in front of cameras. They tell you to smile, pose, and project confidence. It wasn't easy, but she managed to pull it off, and her modeling career started to gain traction. Then something unexpected happened. In 1970, the opportunity of a lifetime came knocking. Although Susan probably didn't realize it at the time, she was just 17 when she was cast as Laurie Partridge in The Partridge Family, a role that would change her life forever. She had no prior acting experience, none. But there was something about her presence, that quiet charm and wholesome look, that made her perfect for the part. It's said that when she landed the role, she hadn't even heard of Shirley Jones, who would play her on-screen mother, or David Cassidy, the show's teen heartthrob and her on-screen brother. Imagine being a teenager and stepping into the whirlwind that was The Partridge Family. The show wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. Almost overnight, Susan went from being an ordinary teenager to a household name. People couldn't get enough of the Partridge Clan, and Laurie, with her cool demeanor and timeless beauty, became a fan favorite. But sudden fame can be a double-edged sword. Susan found herself under a spotlight she hadn't prepared for. The world expected her to be the perfect girl next door, like Laurie Partridge. But Susan was just a young woman trying to find herself. It's hard to overstate how much pressure that kind of fame puts on a person. Susan had to juggle the demands of being on a hit TV show with the normal struggles of growing up. She later admitted that she was painfully self-conscious during those years. She struggled with her body image, and the pressures of being constantly in the public eye only made things worse. But through it all, Susan remained professional and dedicated to her work. Even though she was just a teenager, she carried herself with a maturity beyond her years, impressing her co-stars and audiences alike. Looking back, her entry into Hollywood feels almost accidental, like fate had something special planned for her. But as her story unfolds, it becomes clear that her early fame and success brought new challenges. They would test her in ways she never imagined. Life in the spotlight. After The Partridge Family came to an end in 1974, Susan Dey faced a challenge that so many young actors encounter: breaking free from the role that had made her famous. For 4 seasons, she had been Laurie Partridge, the epitome of the perfect girl next door. Audiences loved her for it, but in Hollywood, that kind of typecasting can be a double-edged sword. While Laurie Partridge had made Susan a star, it also threatened to define her career forever, and she was determined not to let that happen. Susan began seeking roles that would show a different side of her, something far removed from Laurie's wholesome image. Susan Dey seemed to have it all: fame, beauty, and a starring role in one of America's most beloved TV families. But what if this fond memory of yours was the nightmare of Susan Dey herself? What if the one movie that you love so much was the beginning of the end for her joy and laughter? The start of stardom. Susan Dey's story feels like a classic Hollywood script: a young girl with dreams, a stroke of luck, and a sudden thrust into the spotlight. Born in Illinois in 1952, Susan grew up in a pretty normal, middle-class family. Her father was a newspaper editor, which might explain her quiet love for books and words, and her mother was a nurse. But life wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Susan. Her mother passed away when she was just 8 years old, a loss that undoubtedly shaped her early years. It's hard to imagine how a child processes that kind of tragedy, but Susan managed to navigate it, showing a quiet resilience even then. As she grew up, Susan blossomed into a striking young woman, tall and graceful, with a kind of natural beauty that photographers adored. It wasn't long before modeling agencies noticed her. By her teenage years, Susan was modeling for magazines, and while it might have seemed glamorous, the world of modeling had its own challenges. At the time, Susan was incredibly shy. Imagine being a teenager still figuring yourself out. Suddenly, you are in front of cameras. They tell you to smile, pose, and project confidence. It wasn't easy, but she managed to pull it off, and her modeling career started to gain traction. Then something unexpected happened. In 1970, the opportunity of a lifetime came knocking. Although Susan probably didn't realize it at the time, she was just 17 when she was cast as Laurie Partridge in The Partridge Family, a role that would change her life forever. She had no prior acting experience, none. But there was something about her presence, that quiet charm and wholesome look, that made her perfect for the part. It's said that when she landed the role, she hadn't even heard of Shirley Jones, who would play her on-screen mother, or David Cassidy, the show's teen heartthrob and her on-screen brother. Imagine being a teenager and stepping into the whirlwind that was The Partridge Family. The show wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. Almost overnight, Susan went from being an ordinary teenager to a household name. People couldn't get enough of the Partridge Clan, and Laurie, with her cool demeanor and timeless beauty, became a fan favorite. But sudden fame can be a double-edged sword. Susan found herself under a spotlight she hadn't prepared for. The world expected her to be the perfect girl next door, like Laurie Partridge. But Susan was just a young woman trying to find herself. It's hard to overstate how much pressure that kind of fame puts on a person. Susan had to juggle the demands of being on a hit TV show with the normal struggles of growing up. She later admitted that she was painfully self-conscious during those years. She struggled with her body image, and the pressures of being constantly in the public eye only made things worse. But through it all, Susan remained professional and dedicated to her work. Even though she was just a teenager, she carried herself with a maturity beyond her years, impressing her co-stars and audiences alike. Looking back, her entry into Hollywood feels almost accidental, like fate had something special planned for her. But as her story unfolds, it becomes clear that her early fame and success brought new challenges. They would test her in ways she never imagined. Life in the spotlight. After The Partridge Family came to an end in 1974, Susan Dey faced a challenge that so many young actors encounter: breaking free from the role that had made her famous. For 4 seasons, she had been Laurie Partridge, the epitome of the perfect girl next door. Audiences loved her for it, but in Hollywood, that kind of typecasting can be a double-edged sword. While Laurie Partridge had made Susan a star, it also threatened to define her career forever, and she was determined not to let that happen. Susan began seeking roles that would show a different side of her, something far removed from Laurie's wholesome image. But the transition wasn't easy. Hollywood wasn't quite sure what to do with her. This young actress was a stunningly beautiful, talented star, but she was so linked to a single role that casting her in anything else felt like a gamble to producers. For a few years, she found herself in the dreaded post-sitcom limbo. There were roles here and there, but none that truly gave her the chance to showcase her range or step out of Laurie's shadow. But Susan wasn't one to give up easily. She kept at it, honing her craft and learning as much as she could about acting. And eventually, her persistence paid off. In the 1980s, she landed the role that would redefine her career: Grace Van Owen on LA Law. It was a game changer. Grace was smart, ambitious, and confident, everything Laurie Partridge wasn't. The role allowed Susan to step into a more mature, complex character, and she absolutely shined. Critics praised her performance, and she earned a Golden Globe Award and several Emmy nominations for her work on the show. This was Susan's chance to prove that she was more than just a sitcom star, and she seized seized it with both hands. L.A. Law became one of the defining shows of the 1980s, and Susan's portrayal of Grace Van Owen was a big part of its success. She added depth to the character. She balanced Grace's toughness in court with her vulnerability in her personal life. It was a role that allowed Susan to grow as an actress, and it earned her the respect of her peers in the industry. But even with this success, Susan remained cautious about fame. She had learned from her Partridge Family days how fleeting and overwhelming the spotlight could be. While she loved acting, she wasn't interested in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. Susan valued her privacy and preferred to stay out of the tabloids, focusing instead on her work and personal life. This attitude set her apart from many peers. It earned her a reputation as someone serious about her craft, but not obsessed with stardom. Her time on L.A. Law marked a high point in her career. It let her escape her past and build a new identity in Hollywood. It proved that Susan Dey wasn't just Laurie Partridge. She was a talented actress who could compete in a tough industry. And while the road to that success wasn't easy, Susan's determination and resilience made it all the more rewarding. The price of fame. Behind the scenes of her professional achievements, Susan Dey's life wasn't without its share of struggles and challenges, many of which she kept hidden from the public eye for years. One of the most profound battles she faced was with anorexia, a struggle that began during her time on The Partridge Family. On screen, she was the picture of health and youthful beauty, but off-screen, she was quietly grappling with the pressures of fame and the unforgiving beauty standards of the entertainment industry. Susan later revealed that as a teenager on the show, she became obsessively focused on maintaining a certain image, one she believed was expected of her. The cameras, the fans, and the relentless scrutiny all contributed to an overwhelming sense of self-consciousness. She started restricting her eating to an alarming degree, convinced that thinner was better. Looking back, it's heartbreaking to imagine the young star smiling on set, hitting her marks, and charming audiences while secretly battling such a painful and isolating condition. What made it even harder was the lack of understanding and support for eating disorders at the time. In the 1970s, these issues weren't widely discussed, especially not in Hollywood. Susan carried this burden largely on her own, hiding it from her co-stars and the public. David Cassidy, her on-screen brother and the object of her off-screen crush, later admitted he noticed something was wrong but didn't know how to help. It's a stark reminder of how lonely these struggles can be, even for someone surrounded by people. As she moved on from the Partridge Family and worked to reinvent her career, Susan also had to confront the personal toll of her struggles. Her battle with anorexia didn't just affect her physically. It took a mental and emotional toll as well. It's a testament to her strength that she was able to continue working, pushing forward and refusing to let her struggles define her entirely. Beyond her eating disorder, Susan also faced challenges in her personal relationships. Her crush on David Cassidy during their Partridge Family days was unrequited, and while she kept things professional on set, it hurt deeply. Cassidy later wrote about how Susan had confessed her feelings for him, but he didn't feel the same way, seeing her more as a sister than a romantic interest. For Susan, this rejection was another blow to her self-esteem during an already fragile time. As she grew older and gained more control over her life and career, Susan began to step back from the limelight. She chose to prioritize her well-being and live more privately, away from the relentless pressures of Hollywood. In doing so, she set an example for others, showing that it's okay to step away when the cost of fame becomes too great. Susan's struggles remind us that even the brightest stars carry shadows. Her courage in facing her challenges, whether it was her eating disorder or her personal heartbreaks, is a testament to her resilience. It's easy to see the polished surface of fame and forget the human being behind it. Matters of the heart. One of the more bittersweet elements of her story is the complicated dynamic she shares with her former Partridge Family castmates, particularly David Cassidy. While they shared an on-screen bond as Laurie and Keith Partridge, their off-screen relationship was far more layered and, at times, strained. During the show's run, Susan developed a deep crush on David Cassidy. He was, after all, one of the most idolized teen heartthrobs of the era, with legions of fans swooning over his every move. For Susan, the attraction wasn't just about his looks. They spent long hours together on set, sharing jokes, conversations, and the unique experience of skyrocketing fame. In her youthful eyes, it felt natural to develop feelings for someone she was so closely tied to. However, David didn't return those feelings. He cared about Susan, but saw her as a friend and co-worker, someone he respected but wasn't romantically interested in. David later recounted in his memoir how Susan had confided her feelings for him, and though he tried to let her down gently, the situation created an undeniable tension. For Susan, the rejection was painful, not just because of her personal feelings, but because they had to continue working side by side, maintaining their cheerful sibling dynamic on screen. The experience left an emotional mark on her, especially as David began dating other women during their time on the show. Over the years, their relationship shifted in other ways as well. After the Partridge Family ended, the cast naturally drifted apart, as often happens after long projects. But in Susan's case, her departure from the group was more pronounced. She made the decision not to participate in Partridge Family reunions or fan conventions, a choice that some interpreted as her wanting to distance herself from the role of Laurie Partridge altogether. For Susan, it wasn't necessarily about rejecting her past, but rather about moving forward and focusing on new opportunities in her career and personal life. David, on the other hand, embraced the Partridge Family legacy, frequently performing the show's songs and engaging with its devoted fan base. Their differing attitudes toward the show created a noticeable rift, and while they were never openly hostile to each other, there was a sense of distance that lingered. David later expressed disappointment over Susan's reluctance to stay connected with the cast, admitting that he wished things had turned out differently between them. For Susan, it seemed like an emotional balancing act. On the one hand, she had immense gratitude for the show that launched her career and brought her into the public eye. On the other, it represented a time in her life when she struggled with self-esteem, eating disorders, and unrequited feelings, all while being under the microscope of fame. It's understandable that she would feel conflicted about revisiting those years, especially in a nostalgic, fan-centric setting. Despite the complexities of their relationship, there was mutual respect between Susan and David. When David passed away in 2017, Susan released a heartfelt statement, mourning the loss of her former co-star and reflecting on the impact he had on her life. It was a poignant reminder that, no matter the differences or tensions over the years, there was an unbreakable bond formed during those Partridge Family days. Her first marriage was to Leonard "Lenny" Hershen, a talent agent and producer. The couple tied the knot in 1976 during a time when Susan was still navigating her post-Partridge Family fame and trying to establish herself as a serious actress. Lenny, 25 years her senior, brought a sense of stability and experience to her life, perhaps offering guidance as she balanced her rising career with the challenges of early adulthood in Hollywood. Together, they welcomed a daughter, Susan Dey Hershen, making Susan a mother for the first time. For Susan, motherhood likely added another layer of complexity to her already busy life. Being a young star in the public eye while raising a child is no easy feat, and it's not hard to imagine the pressures she must have faced in trying to balance it all. However, despite the shared joys of parenthood, Susan and Lenny's marriage began to unravel. By 1981, the couple had divorced, marking the end of what might have seemed like a fairy tale union from the outside. After her divorce, Susan kept her personal life relatively private, focusing on her career and her role as a mother. However, love found her again when she met Bernard Safransky, a television producer. The two married in 1988, and this union marked the beginning of a more grounded and settled phase in her life. Bernard wasn't a flashy Hollywood type. He worked behind the scenes, and that likely appealed to Susan, who by then was leaning toward a quieter, more private existence. Their marriage has endured for decades, a rarity in the entertainment world, and speaks to the strength of their partnership. While the details of their relationship remain largely under wraps, it's clear that Susan values her privacy and prefers to keep her personal life out of the limelight. It's refreshing, really, in an industry where so much of one's life can be splashed across tabloids and dissected for public consumption. Susan's second marriage seems to have given her the stability and support she needed after the ups and downs of her earlier years. With Bernard, she's been able to build a life that's far removed from the chaos of Hollywood, focusing on the things that matter most to her. For someone who spent much of her youth in the spotlight, this enduring relationship seems to have provided her with the calm and balance she always sought. Though she doesn't speak much about her personal life publicly, her choices suggest a woman who has prioritized authenticity and meaningful connections over the fleeting allure of fame. Her marriages, particularly her long-lasting union with Bernard, show that Susan Dey has found her own version of happiness, a life built on love, privacy, and a focus on what truly matters, the failed pursuit of happiness. As the years went by, Susan Dey's career began to slow down, but it wasn't just about fewer roles coming her way. It was also a conscious decision on her part. Hollywood can be relentless, and after decades of working under its spotlight, Susan started pulling back, choosing a quieter, more private life away from the chaos of the industry. For someone who had spent her formative years in the public eye, this shift was both deliberate and refreshing. Susan wasn't interested in chasing fame endlessly. After her success on LA Law and other projects, she'd proven herself as an actress and had nothing left to prove. Hollywood, with all its glitz and glamour, wasn't what she wanted for the long haul. She started prioritizing her personal life over her professional one, focusing on what truly made her happy. And honestly, who could blame her? After years of being scrutinized, celebrated, and occasionally criticized, she wanted to reclaim her time and energy for herself. Her retreat from the public eye also aligned with her desire to live a more grounded, balanced life. Susan had always been somewhat private, even during her career's peak, and stepping away felt natural. She wasn't the type to chase after roles that didn't inspire her, or to make appearances just for the sake of staying in the luminous yet shadowy world of Hollywood, where stars shine bright against the night sky. The story of Karen Black unfolds like a captivating screenplay filled with twists and turns, triumphs and trials. Known for her piercing gaze and unparalleled versatility, Karen Black carved a niche for herself in an era that redefined cinema. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of her celebrated career lay a tapestry of untold stories, hidden struggles, and enigmatic truths that fans never knew. Karen Black's journey from an aspiring actress to a cinematic icon of the 70s is a testament to her indomitable spirit and raw talent. But what lies beyond the accolades and the spotlight? From her groundbreaking performances that challenged the norms of her time to her ventures into the realms of writing and music, Karen's life was a mosaic of creativity and complexity. As we peel back the layers of her storied career, we uncover the method behind her magic, revealing the depth of her dedication to her craft. Yet Karen's life was not without its shadows, personal battles fought away from the public eye, and her role as a mentor and advocate for the arts painted a picture of a woman whose influence extended far beyond the silver screen. A Star is Born. In the heartland of America, in the small town of Park Ridge, Illinois, a star was born on July 1, 1939. Karen Blanche Ziegler, who would later be known to the world as Karen Black, entered life with the kind of spark that presaged her future luminosity in the world of cinema. Raised in a household where creativity was the currency, her mother, a writer of several award-winning children's novels, and her father, a businessman with a penchant for storytelling, imbued in Karen a deep love for the arts from a tender age. Karen's journey to stardom was not a straight path, but a winding road filled with dreams, determination, and a relentless pursuit of expression. Her early years were marked by a sense of adventure and a quest for understanding the human condition, themes that would later permeate her most memorable performances. The family's move to Chicago when Karen was young opened new vistas of opportunity, exposing her to the vibrant theater scene that thrived in the city's heart. The stage became Karen's first love and battleground, where she honed her craft and learned the ropes of acting. Her education at the Goodman Theater School of Drama at the Art Institute of Chicago was not just an academic pursuit, it was a rite of passage. Here, Karen delved into the depths of character development and the nuances of performance, laying the foundation for a career that would defy conventions and challenge perceptions. Yet, the call of Hollywood was irresistible. In the early 1960s, with a heart full of dreams and a suitcase packed with ambition, Karen made the pilgrimage west, joining the ranks of hopefuls in the city of angels. Los Angeles was a world away from the theaters of Chicago, a place where dreams were both made and shattered. Karen's early days in Hollywood were a test of her resolve, a period of auditions, rejections, and small parts that tested the limits of her perseverance. But Karen Black was not one to be easily dissuaded. Her breakthrough came in a way that seemed almost fated, a serendipitous alignment of talent, timing, and opportunity. It was her role in Francis Ford Coppola's You're a Big Boy Now, 1966, that first turned heads, but it was the seminal year of 1969 that would forever change her trajectory. Her roles in Easy Rider, alongside Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, and as Rayette DePesto in 5 Easy Pieces opposite Jack Nicholson, showcased her extraordinary range and raw emotional depth, earning her critical acclaim and a place in the pantheon of new Hollywood icons. The breakthrough. The late 1960s and early 1970s marked a seismic shift in American cinema, a period now revered as the New Hollywood era. It was a time when the film industry underwent a radical transformation, driven by a new generation of filmmakers and actors who dared to push the boundaries of storytelling, character development, and cinematic art. Amidst this cultural revolution, Karen Black emerged as a defining figure, her breakthrough performances resonating with both the zeitgeist of the times and the evolving tastes of the audience. Karen's role in 5 Easy Pieces, 1970, a film that has since become emblematic of the New Hollywood movement, was a career-defining moment. Portraying Rayette DePesto, a waitress who embodies the complexities of love, longing, and societal displacement, Karen delivered a performance that was both heart-wrenching and deeply human. Her ability to convey the subtleties of emotion and vulnerability earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, cementing her status as one of the era's most talented and versatile actors. This period of Karen's career was marked by a series of roles that showcased her range and depth as an actress. In The Great Gatsby, 1974, she took on the role of Myrtle Wilson, bringing to life the tragic figure with a performance that was both nuanced and powerful. Her portrayal of Myrtle's desperation and doomed aspirations highlighted Karen's skill in capturing the essence of complex characters, further establishing her as a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. Another significant milestone came with her role in Airport 1975, where Karen played the stewardess Nancy Pryor. In a film that combined disaster movie tropes with human drama, Karen's performance stood out, offering a glimpse into her ability to anchor a film with her presence and emotional depth. This role, among others, demonstrated her versatility and helped solidify her reputation as one of the most reliable and compelling actresses of her time. The method behind the magic. Karen Black's approach to her craft was as unique as the characters she brought to life on screen. Rooted in the method acting technique, her preparation for roles went beyond mere memorization of lines or understanding the script. Karen delved deep into the psyche of her characters, seeking to inhabit their world fully and bring an authenticity to her performances that resonated with audiences and critics alike. Her dedication to the method was evident in the way she approached each role, often spending weeks or even months researching and immersing herself in the character's background, motivations, and emotional landscape. This intense preparation process allowed Karen to deliver performances that were not only compelling, but also deeply human, capturing the complexities and nuances of the characters she portrayed. One of the most striking examples of Karen's method acting came with her role in 5 Easy Pieces. To embody Rayette, a character whose dreams and disappointments are palpable throughout the film, Karen spent time in diners, observing and interacting with waitresses to capture the essence of her character's life. Her commitment to authenticity paid off, resulting in a performance that was both powerful and poignant, earning her critical acclaim and an Academy Award nomination. Karen's ability to transform herself for her roles was not limited to dramatic parts. In Trilogy of Terror, 1975, a made-for-television anthology horror film, she showcased her versatility by playing 4 distinct characters, including a tormented college student and a woman terrorized by a Zuni fetish doll. Her performances in this film highlighted her skill in navigating a range of emotions and genres, from terror to despair, further cementing her status as a versatile and talented actress. Behind the magic of Karen Black's performances was a relentless pursuit of truth in her portrayal of characters. Whether it was through meticulous research, physical transformation, or emotional immersion, Karen's method acting technique was a testament to her dedication to her craft and her desire to connect with audiences on a profound level. Her legacy as an actress is not only defined by the roles she played, but also by the depth and authenticity she brought to each character, leaving an indelible mark on the world of cinema. Hidden talents. Karen Black's artistry extended far beyond the silver screen, revealing a woman of multifaceted talents and interests. While audiences around the world knew her as a captivating actress, many were unaware of the depth of her creativity, which flowed through her veins like an unending river, touching the shores of music, writing, and more. Music was one of Karen's most profound hidden talents. With a voice as distinctive as her on-screen presence, she ventured into the world of songwriting and singing with a passion that mirrored her approach to acting. Her album, released in the early 1980s, showcased not just her vocal abilities but also her skill as a songwriter. The songs, imbued with introspective lyrics and melodic tunes, offered listeners a glimpse into the inner world of an artist who found solace and expression in the rhythm and rhymes of music. Karen's literary talents were another aspect of her creative persona that remained largely out of the public eye. A prolific writer, she penned several screenplays and stories, each reflecting her keen observations of the human condition and her deep understanding of emotional complexities. Her writing, much like her performances, was a canvas where she explored themes of love, loss, and the intricacies of human relationships. In addition to her musical and literary endeavors, Karen had a keen interest in photography and painting, mediums through which she captured the beauty and absurdity of the world around her. Her photographs and artworks, though seldom exhibited, were as expressive and evocative as her roles on screen, marked by a unique perspective that was unmistakably Karen. Karen Black's hidden talents were a testament to her boundless creativity and her relentless pursuit of artistic expression. Whether through the chords of a song, the words on a page, or the strokes of a brush, she communicated with a depth and sincerity that resonated with those who had the privilege of experiencing her art. Her legacy, enriched by these diverse talents, stands as a reminder of the profound impact a truly creative spirit can have on the world. The cult icon. Karen Black's journey through Hollywood's ever-changing landscape solidified her status not just as a versatile actress, but as a cult icon whose work resonated deeply within the realms of independent cinema and genre films. Her fearless choice of roles and her unparalleled ability to breathe life into every character she portrayed endeared her to a dedicated fan base that revered her as much for her unconventional choices as for her undeniable talent. The 1970s and 1980s saw Karen embracing roles in films that would later be celebrated as cult classics, further cementing her legacy as an icon of alternative cinema. Her appearance in Trilogy of Terror, 1975, a horror anthology television movie, showcased her exceptional range and ability to captivate audiences with her performance in 3 distinct roles, particularly as the tormented protagonist in the segment featuring the now infamous Zuni fetish doll. This role, among others, contributed to her lasting legacy in the horror genre, making her a beloved figure among horror enthusiasts. Karen's work in Burnt Offerings, 1976, further exemplified her status as a cult icon. In this haunted house thriller, her portrayal of a wife and mother slowly succumbing to the malevolent forces of her family's new home highlighted her skill in navigating the psychological depths of her characters, earning the film a special place in the hearts of horror aficionados. Beyond horror, Karen's roles in independent films and her collaborations with pioneering directors of the time played a significant role in her cult iconography. Her ability to seamlessly transition between genres, from drama to horror to comedy, showcased her versatility and fearless approach to her craft. This adaptability made her a favorite among directors looking for an actress who could bring complexity and authenticity to challenging roles. Personal struggles, public battles. Karen Black's luminous career and diverse artistic pursuits were often shadowed by personal struggles and public battles that tested her resilience and fortitude. Despite the challenges she faced, Karen's spirit remained unbroken, exemplifying her strength and determination to overcome adversity. One of the most significant struggles in Karen's life was her battle with health issues that emerged later in her career. In 2010, Karen was diagnosed with ampullary cancer, a rare form of cancer that affects the bile duct. The diagnosis marked the beginning of a difficult journey, as Karen underwent several medical treatments, including surgery and chemotherapy, in an effort to combat the disease. Her fight against cancer was not only a personal struggle, but also a public battle, as she shared her experiences with her fans and the world, showcasing her vulnerability and humanity. Karen's health battle took a toll on her professionally, as it limited her ability to work and take on new projects. However, her determination to continue acting and her passion for the arts never waned. Even during her treatment, Karen sought to remain active in the creative community, participating in projects as much as her health would allow and continuing to inspire those around her with her resilience. In addition to her health struggles, Karen faced financial difficulties that were exacerbated by her medical expenses. In 2013, her family launched a crowdfunding campaign to help cover the costs of her treatment, revealing the extent of her financial strain. The campaign received an outpouring of support from fans and the film community, highlighting the deep affection and respect that many held for Karen. The mentor. Beyond her roles as an actress, Karen embraced the role of mentor with a generosity and passion that mirrored her approach to her craft. Her dedication to nurturing new talent was a testament to her belief in the transformative power of art and the importance of guidance and support in the creative journey. Karen's mentorship extended across various facets of filmmaking, from acting to writing and directing. She was known for her willingness to share her experiences, offering insights gleaned from decades in a challenging industry. Her advice was not just about the technicalities of acting or the nuances of character development. It was also about navigating the complexities of the film industry, maintaining artistic integrity, and the importance of resilience. One of Karen's most impactful contributions as a mentor was her involvement in workshops and acting classes. Here, she engaged with aspiring actors, providing them with a safe space to explore their abilities and push their boundaries. Karen's teaching style was immersive and hands-on, encouraging students to delve deep into their characters and embrace their vulnerabilities. She believed that true artistry in acting came from a place of honesty and emotional truth, and she guided her students in their pursuit of these ideals. Beyond formal settings, Karen's mentorship was also evident in her everyday interactions with young filmmakers and actors. She was known for her openness and approachability, often taking the time to engage in meaningful conversations with those seeking her advice. Her encouragement and support could be a turning point for many, offering them the confidence to pursue their dreams in an industry that could often seem impenetrable. Karen's impact as a mentor went beyond the technical aspects of filmmaking. She inspired her mentees to approach their art with a sense of purpose and a deep respect for the storytelling process. She emphasized the importance of empathy and emotional intelligence in creating work that resonated with audiences. Her guidance helped shape a new generation of artists, imbuing them with a sense of responsibility to their craft and to the stories they chose to tell. Moreover, Karen's mentorship reflected her broader vision for the film industry, a community where collaboration and mutual support were foundational values. She envisioned a space where creativity was nurtured and diverse voices were celebrated, paving the way for a more inclusive and dynamic cinematic landscape. An unconventional style. Karen Black's style was a vivid reflection of her era's cultural shifts, embodying the spirit of the 1960s and 70s with a distinctive flair that set her apart in Hollywood's fashion landscape. Her approach to fashion was as eclectic and daring as the roles she chose, making her a style icon who defied the conventional norms of celebrity dressing. In the 1970s, when Black's career was at its zenith, fashion was undergoing a radical transformation. The decade celebrated individuality and self-expression with influences ranging from the bohemian to the disco. Karen navigated these trends with an innate sense of style that was both of the moment and timeless. She was often seen in maxi dresses, a staple of 70s fashion, which she styled with her unique twist, incorporating bold prints and unconventional accessories that highlighted her artistic sensibility. Karen's public appearances were marked by her preference for outfits that blended glamour with a touch of the avant-garde. At the 46th Academy Awards in 1974, where she was nominated for her performance in The Great Gatsby, Karen epitomized 70s chic in a black halter neck gown. The simplicity of the dress was offset by her dramatic makeup and hairstyle, showcasing her ability to merge classic Hollywood elegance with the era's more experimental trends. Off the red carpet, Karen's personal style was equally compelling. She was known for her love of vintage clothing, often spotted in secondhand stores searching for unique pieces that she would incorporate into her everyday wardrobe. This penchant for vintage was not just a fashion statement, but a reflection of her broader artistic and environmental values, predating the contemporary movement towards sustainable fashion. Karen's influence on fashion extended beyond her personal style. She was a muse to several designers of the time who were drawn to her unconventional beauty and fearless approach to fashion. Her collaborations with these designers often resulted in groundbreaking looks that captured the imagination of the public and the fashion industry alike. Karen Black's unconventional style was more than just a facet of her public persona. It was an integral part of her identity as an artist and individual. Through her fashion choices, she communicated a sense of freedom, creativity, and defiance that resonated with the cultural zeitgeist of her time and continues to inspire today. The final act. Karen Black's career spanned over 5 decades, during which she became an emblem of versatility and resilience in the entertainment industry. Her final years, however, were marked by a courageous battle with cancer that she faced with the same strength and dignity that characterized her life and work. In 2010, Karen was diagnosed with ampullary cancer, leading to an extensive medical battle that included surgery and chemotherapy. Despite the severity of her condition, she continued to work, showcasing her unwavering dedication to her craft. One of her last film projects was She Loves Me Not, 2013, a testament to her enduring talent and commitment to acting even in the face of adversity. Karen's health struggles became public in 2013 when her husband, Stephen Eckelberry, launched a crowdfunding campaign to help cover the costs of her medical treatments. The campaign highlighted not only the financial challenges faced by many veteran actors, but also the outpouring of support from fans and the film community. This gesture underscored the impact Karen had on her audience and peers, reflecting the deep affection and respect she garnered throughout her career. On August 8, 2013, Karen Black passed away at the age of 74. Her death was mourned by many who had been touched by her performances, her spirit, and her courage. Tributes poured in from across the industry, with colleagues, critics, and fans alike celebrating her contributions to cinema and her role as a trailblazer for women in Hollywood. Karen's legacy is preserved not only through her memorable performances in films like 5 Easy Pieces, The Great Gatsby, and Nashville, but also through her influence on independent cinema and her advocacy for creative expression. She remains a figure of inspiration for her ability to navigate the complexities of fame and personal challenges with grace. Her final act, marked by both personal struggle and professional achievements, serves as a poignant reminder of the human behind the celebrity. Karen Black's story is one of talent, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of an artist who continued to inspire until the very end. Is it hard to believe that beautiful and successful actors would stoop so low as to be petty thieves, right? Well, not in all cases were these actors stealing out of a disorder. Some had other reasons behind their thefts. Whether it was legitimate or not, that's a question you can answer for yourself. Dorothy Lamore. In Hollywood's golden age, Dorothy Lamore was the sarong queen. Her exotic charm and roles in tropical films earned her the title. But behind the fame and luxury, few knew a quirky side to her. She had a habit of taking things that didn't belong to her. Dorothy was famous for her roles in the Road to series with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, but she was just as well known among studio staff for her souvenirs. After a shoot wrapped, little props and costume pieces would sometimes mysteriously go missing. Jewelry, accessories, and even small set decorations would end up in Dorothy's possession. She wasn't stealing to be sneaky, though. She just loved keeping mementos to remind her of her work. Her co-workers would later laugh about it. She had a knack for making things disappear. Some thought it was harmless, while others believed it was her way of holding on to the memories of her success. After all, Hollywood was a tough business, and stars like Dorothy constantly worried about staying relevant. Even though she had this unusual habit, Dorothy remained a beloved figure in Hollywood. Her talent and charm were undeniable, and her little collecting quirk only made her more human. It's one of those stories that adds a touch of mystery and fun to the legacy of a Golden Age star. Hedy Lamar. She was a Hollywood icon and a brilliant inventor whose work helped pave the way for modern Wi-Fi. However, even someone as extraordinary as Hedy had her controversies. One of the most shocking was a shoplifting accusation for jewelry in the 1960s. The story made headlines everywhere. Imagine this glamorous movie star, who had once been dubbed the most beautiful woman in the world, being dragged into court over some stolen necklaces and rings. It seemed unbelievable. Hedy, of course, denied everything and claimed it was all a big misunderstanding. She said she'd simply forgotten to pay, but the media wasn't buying it. They ran with the scandal, turning what might have been an honest mistake into a full-blown character assassination. For someone who had helped invent a groundbreaking technology during World War II, this was a humiliating moment. People couldn't reconcile the genius inventor with the idea of someone sneaking jewelry out of a store. Some whispered it was kleptomania, while others thought it was a cry for attention from someone who had faded from Hollywood's spotlight. Whether it was an accident or something deeper, the incident left a dent in Hedy's reputation. Still, it's just one chapter in her fascinating life story. From inventing frequency-hopping technology to becoming a Golden Age legend, Hedy Lamar's life proves that even the most glamorous stars can have some very human and surprising moments. Veronica Lake. With her famous blonde hair over one eye, Veronica was the 1940s Hollywood beauty. But like many stars, her life took a turn when fame began to fade. As her career declined, so did her finances. This led to a much less glamorous chapter in her life, and a surprising scandal. At one point, Veronica was accused of shoplifting from a department store. The news shocked her fans. They remembered her as the glamorous star of films like Sullivan's Travels and This Gun for Hire. What could have led a Hollywood icon to something like this? Some people said it was just a misunderstanding, that Veronica didn't mean to steal anything. Others, however, weren't so sure. By then, she was struggling to make ends meet. The pressure to maintain some normalcy might have played a role. The incident was a stark reminder of how quickly Hollywood can turn its back on its stars. Veronica, who had once been a household name, was now caught in a moment that painted her in a completely different light. Still, her story is a complex one. Whether the shoplifting accusation was true or not, it showed how even the brightest stars could struggle when the spotlight dimmed. Veronica's life may have been filled with highs and lows, but her legacy as a Golden Age icon remains unforgettable. That little scandal? Just another twist in the fascinating story of a woman who was more than her famous hair and glamorous image. Zaza Gabor. Known for her dazzling jewelry, over-the-top charm, and unapologetic love for luxury, she lived life as if it were one big, fabulous performance. But Zaza's high society antics also came with whispers of some rather cheeky behavior, like the time she was rumored to help herself to items from high-end boutiques. According to the gossip, Zaza had a habit of taking things without paying, brushing it off as if it were a perk of being Zaza Gabor. She'd reportedly quipped that the items were gifts for her beauty and charm, delivered with her signature confidence and a dazzling smile that could probably talk anyone out of filing a complaint. Whether it was true kleptomania or just Zaza being Zaza, the rumors added to her legend as a woman who lived by her own rules. For her, it was never about being sneaky or malicious. It was about maintaining the glamorous, larger-than-life persona she had built. In her world, it probably seemed perfectly natural to assume the world owed her a few sparkly trinkets in exchange for gracing it with her presence. Did she really swipe those items, or was it just another piece of tabloid fodder? We may never know, but one thing's for sure. Zaza Gabor knew how to keep people talking even when she wasn't trying. It's just another colorful layer in the story of a woman who made her life her greatest performance. Tula Bankhead. With her raspy voice, sharp wit, and rebellious nature, she was a force to be reckoned with both on and off the screen. But Tallulah's eccentric personality also came with some peculiar habits, like her love for taking souvenirs from the parties she attended. Stories say she had a knack for pocketing little trinkets wherever she went. Whether it was a fancy lighter, a silver spoon, or a small decorative item, Tallulah didn't see it as stealing. To her, it was just a fun way to remember a good time. She'd even joke about it, saying, "Darling, I simply couldn't resist." Her charm was so disarming that most hosts didn't seem to mind, or at least they let it slide. Tallulah's unpredictable behavior was part of her allure. She lived by her own rules and never cared much for what others thought. To her, life was one big adventure, and she was going to enjoy every minute of it, trinkets and all. Whether you see it as a harmless quirk or a touch of kleptomania, this little habit of hers only adds to the legend of Tula Bankhead, a woman who knew how to make an impression and leave with a little keepsake to boot. Elizabeth Taylor. She was famous for her beauty, talent, and love of all things luxurious, but she was also rumored to have a habit of holding on to valuable items from her film wardrobes. Whether it was a sparkling piece of jewelry or an elegant gown, Taylor seemed to think these treasures were hers to keep. Unlike some other stars accused of kleptomania, Elizabeth's actions appeared more rooted in entitlement than compulsion. She reportedly saw the costumes and accessories as part of the rewards for being Elizabeth Taylor, a global icon and a box office queen. After all, who could blame her for wanting to keep a diamond necklace or an exquisite dress that she had brought to life on screen? While some studios grumbled about the missing items, others were too starstruck by Taylor's larger-than-life presence to make a fuss. And honestly, could you really say no to Elizabeth Taylor? Her confidence, charm, and commanding presence probably made it hard for anyone to argue with her. Whether you view this as a diva moment or just a star claiming what she felt was rightfully hers, it's undeniably part of Taylor's legendary persona. She didn't just star in movies, she lived like a queen, and queens don't return the crown jewels. It's just one more story that adds to the myth of Elizabeth Taylor, a woman who always got what she wanted, even if it wasn't officially hers. Mae West. Despite the great things you probably associate her with, Mae also had a lesser-known reputation for helping herself to little trinkets and treasures, especially when she thought no one would notice. Rumor has it that Mae had a soft spot for jewelry and other shiny objects. On more than one occasion, items from film sets or private parties mysteriously disappeared, only to later be spotted in Mae's possession. When confronted, she'd dismiss the accusations with a sly smile and a witty remark, making it nearly impossible to stay mad at her. "Darling," she might say, "I never take anything that doesn't match my style." Mae's habit wasn't exactly kleptomania. It was more like Mae being Mae. She believed she was entitled to the finer things in life and didn't see the harm in keeping a few extra souvenirs. After all, she was Mae West, the woman who could charm just about anyone with her signature sass and confidence. While her actions might have raised eyebrows, they only added to the legend of Mae West. She lived by her own rules, collected her own treasures, and left a trail of unforgettable stories in her wake. For Mae, life was a stage, and she was always the star, props and all. Joan Crawford. Everything in her life had to be just right. Her image, her performances, and even the decor in her home. But her eye for detail came with a peculiar habit. She was known to forget to return things she took a liking to, whether it was a prop, costume, or even a piece of set furniture. Studio gossip swirled for years about Joan's tendency to take items from movie sets. If a prop caught her eye or a costume perfectly suited her style, it wasn't unusual for it to mysteriously vanish. Rumor had it that she'd claim it was for research or character development, but somehow those items always seemed to end up in her home. From elegant gowns to luxurious furniture, Joan's idea of borrowing was a bit more permanent. Her perfectionism extended beyond her career. She was known to curate her home to reflect her impeccable sense of style, and she wasn't shy about bending the rules to get what she wanted. For Joan, it wasn't about kleptomania. It was about ensuring every detail of her life met her impossibly high standards. Whether it was a harmless quirk or an entitlement born from being one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Joan's habit became part of her lore. After all, when you're Joan Crawford, why settle for less than perfection? Especially when it's just sitting there waiting to be borrowed? Errol Flynn. Rumor has it that Flynn had a habit of acquiring souvenirs from movie sets and fancy hotels. Whether it was a prop sword from one of his famous adventure films or a luxurious item from a lavish suite, Flynn's charm often seemed to work in his favor. Who could really say no to the roguish star of Captain Blood and the Adventures of Robin Hood? If questioned, he'd likely flash that famous grin and come up with a witty excuse that left everyone laughing instead of complaining. For Flynn, it wasn't about stealing, it was just part of his larger-than-life persona. He lived for the thrill, whether it was sailing the seas, throwing extravagant parties, or walking away with a little memento from his latest adventure. To him, the world was a playground, and he was the dashing rogue living life to the fullest. While these stories might just be part of the legend surrounding Flynn, they fit perfectly with his image as Hollywood's charming bad boy. Whether true or exaggerated, they add yet another layer to the myth of Errol Flynn, a man who made every moment and every set an adventure. Barbara Stanwyck. She built her career playing gritty, independent women, and she carried that same attitude into her personal life. This reputation for being fiercely independent extended to her behavior on set as well, where some whispers suggested she had a habit of taking home items from the production she worked on. According to rumors, Stanwyck didn't see it as theft. She saw it as fair compensation for her hard work and dedication to her roles. Whether it was a prop or a piece of costume jewelry, if she liked something, it was said she would borrow it, sometimes without asking. After all, she was one of Hollywood's highest-paid actresses, and after giving so much of herself to her roles, what was a little keepsake here and there? These acts weren't about being sneaky, they were more about Stanwyck's sense of ownership over the work she did. With the kind of roles she took on, strong, resourceful women who didn't wait around for handouts, it's easy to see how she might have felt entitled to take home a piece of the action. The on-screen tough gal seemed to be reflected in her off-screen practicality. Though not widely reported or as infamous as other stars' kleptomania rumors, Stanwyck's supposed habit adds another layer to the image of a woman who worked hard, played hard, and wasn't about to ask permission for what she believed was rightfully hers. Lana Turner. As the ultimate blonde bombshell of Hollywood's golden age, Lana was always at the center of attention, known for her stunning beauty, glamorous image, and tumultuous love life. She was one of the most talked-about stars of her time. But while her movie career and personal drama often made headlines, there were also whispers about some of her more questionable behaviors. Among the gossip was the suggestion that Lana had a habit of walking off with items from movie sets or high-end boutiques. Whether it was a piece of jewelry, a prop from one of her films, or an expensive accessory, rumors circulated that Lana didn't always bother to return the things she borrowed, or sometimes even those she didn't. The media and the public were so enchanted by her charm and beauty that any accusations of theft tended to get lost in the noise of her fame. In a way, Lana Turner's allure was so powerful that people were more likely to overlook or downplay these allegations. She was the picture of elegance and perfection, and who could resist her captivating presence? If she forgot to return something, it was often dismissed as just another quirk of her star status rather than a serious accusation. Though the stories about her kleptomaniac tendencies never became widely known or confirmed, they added another layer to her mystique, just another piece of gossip to fuel the legend of Lana Turner, the woman who seemed to have it all, and maybe a little extra too. Clara Bo. They called her the dazzling it girl of the 1920s. She was the embodiment of Hollywood glamour during the silent film era. With her captivating smile, fiery red hair, and magnetic screen presence, she captured the hearts of audiences and critics alike, becoming the first true superstar of Hollywood. But behind the glitz and glam of her fame, Clara Bo's life was filled with more complexity than the average fan could imagine, including rumors of her helping herself to a few items that didn't quite belong to her. Bo came from humble beginnings, growing up in poverty in Brooklyn, New York. She wasn't born into the luxury and fame that would later define her career, so when she hit it big in Hollywood, it's believed that she was eager to hold on to the opulence she'd finally achieved. In an industry known for its wealth and extravagance, Bo might have felt a need to secure a little piece of the lifestyle she had only dreamed of as a child, and that, according to some stories, may have led her to pocket a few items here and there, whether they were jewelry, costumes, or even small props from the sets she worked on. Rumors swirled about Bo's penchant for taking things that caught her eye. Whether it was a dazzling necklace from a film wardrobe or a beautiful piece of furniture from a movie set, there were whispers that Clara Bo didn't always ask before she took something that she thought was just too beautiful or too valuable to leave behind. For someone who had spent her early years struggling and scraping by, the notion of acquiring these treasures likely felt like a reward for everything she had fought for. Some of the stories suggested it wasn't a malicious habit, but more of a coping mechanism for Bo, a way to hold on to a piece of the dream that had finally come true. She had gone from being a poor girl in Brooklyn to one of the most sought-after stars in Hollywood, so perhaps taking a little something here and there was her way of holding on to that dream, of making sure she never went back to the life she had before. Her reputation as Hollywood's it girl only made matters more complicated. She was adored by fans, but often criticized by Hollywood insiders for being a bit too wild and impulsive. Her actions, if they were ever noticed, were often dismissed as the behaviors of a star who had grown accustomed to getting what she wanted. Bo's larger-than-life persona, filled with both charm and scandal, made it easy for the public to forgive, or at least ignore, her alleged kleptomania. Despite the whispers about her behavior, Clara Bo's career didn't suffer much from these rumors. Marlene Dietrich. The German-born actress and singer was one of the most glamorous and enigmatic stars of Hollywood's golden age. Known for her striking beauty, sultry voice, and commanding presence, Dietrich captivated audiences around the world with her portrayals of strong, sophisticated women. But behind the allure and elegance, there were rumors that Dietrich had a bit of a penchant for collecting luxury items, sometimes without permission. Dietrich's love for luxury was well known. She was known to wear designer gowns, flaunt stunning jewels, and attend extravagant parties, living a lifestyle that perfectly matched her on-screen persona. She wasn't just a star, she was an icon of sophistication and refinement, someone who seemed to have the world at her feet. But with such a high-profile life came whispers about her behavior off-camera, particularly in relation to her occasional habit of collecting things that caught her eye. Rumors suggest that Dietrich often took small but expensive items, jewelry, trinkets, or even fashionable accessories, from private parties, movie sets, or even luxury boutiques. It wasn't so much about stealing as it was about her discerning eye and an apparent sense of entitlement to the finest things life had to offer. In a world where she was surrounded by opulence, it might have seemed perfectly natural to her to take home a piece of the luxury she admired. One of the reasons this behavior might have flown under the radar was Dietrich's undeniable charm and elegance. Her impeccable poise and unearthly beauty made it easy for people to overlook or forgive any minor infractions, especially when they came from someone as mesmerizing as Dietrich. If she happened to forget to return an item, no one was likely to challenge her. After all, she had a magnetic presence that made her irresistible, and her fame provided her with a sort of shield from any real scrutiny. Dietrich's reputation as a glamorous diva also added a layer of mystique to her rumored kleptomania. In a way, it was almost fitting. She was the embodiment of the Hollywood starlet who could do no wrong. If she took a piece of jewelry or a piece of decor from a set, it was almost as if she deserved it. After all, she was Marlene Dietrich. This attitude may have been compounded by her early experiences in Europe, where she struggled to make ends meet before her rise to fame. Coming from a modest background, she was known to have a complex relationship with wealth and luxury, appreciating it perhaps more than those born into privilege. Her penchant for collecting items also became part of her larger-than-life persona. Dietrich's life was filled with intrigue, from her love affairs to her fierce independence. Taking things, whether consciously or subconsciously, seemed like just another part of the bold character she had cultivated. A woman who could make headlines for being a star on screen could just as easily make them for her less-than-glamorous tendencies off-screen. While these stories were never fully substantiated, they contribute to the myth and allure of Dietrich's legacy. She was the kind of star who defied convention, and her rumored kleptomania only added to the mystique that surrounded her. Whether or not she truly helped herself to a few luxury items during her rise to fame, the rumors fit perfectly with the persona of a woman who was unapologetically herself and who lived life on her own terms. How much of classic Hollywood films do you know? Well, some facts are common knowledge, but others, the producers tried to hide as best as they can but failed. From manipulating colors to terrible film mistakes, these random classic film facts are oddly intriguing. The curtains in Gone with the Wind. Remember Scarlett O'Hara's famous green curtains in Gone with the Wind? Well, turns out those curtains weren't even green. Back when they were filming Gone with the Wind, the Technicolor process didn't capture green very well. It looked strange or washed out on screen. So, instead of green fabric, the costume designers went with gray. It sounds funny, but on film, that gray gave the illusion of a rich green color without any technical issues. It's one of those clever movie tricks that most people never even realize, but it totally shaped the look of that iconic scene. But when it comes to iconic scenes, you'd be shocked at what the great Alfred Hitchcock has to say about his favorite appearance. Alfred Hitchcock's favorite cameo. If you know anything about Hitchcock, aside from the fact that he was such a filmmaking genius, he was also famous for his cameos. In nearly all of his movies, he'd pop up for a few seconds, maybe walking a dog, reading a newspaper, or just blending into a crowd. But here's the twist. His favorite cameo moment wasn't even his own. Instead, Hitchcock claimed he admired Cary Grant's walk in North by Northwest, 1959, more than anything he'd done himself. He thought the way Grant moved in the film looked incredibly Hitchcockian. Somehow, Grant captured the mysterious, slightly unsettling vibe that Hitchcock loved to create. It's like Grant's stride became a cameo for Hitchcock's whole style, without the director even being on screen. It appears some movies are just so great, even the actors like to take a piece home, like this next actor, Bela Lugosi and his cape. Did you know that even off-screen, Bela couldn't seem to let go of Dracula? After his iconic role as the vampire, Lugosi became so attached to the character that he actually wore his Dracula cape just about everywhere. He'd show up at parties, events, and even in his own home draped in that same black cloak as if he were still in character. He was so tied to the role that he even requested to be buried in his cape when he passed away. Did you know in some other movies they manipulate a lot of things to give us certain legendary images, like this next one? The Wizard of Oz slippers. Dorothy's ruby slippers in The Wizard of Oz weren't always meant to be red. In the original book by L. Frank Baum, her shoes were actually silver. But when MGM started working on the film, they realized they could use the new Technicolor technology to make the visuals pop. Red was more eye-catching on screen than silver, so they made a bold choice and changed Dorothy's shoes to ruby red. It was a simple color switch that created one of the most iconic props in movie history. As far as Hollywood history is concerned, on-screen romances were often real, all except these two. Vivien Leigh kissing Clark Gable. From the viewer's perspective, there was no denying the chemistry between the two on-screen lovebirds, but the reality is a bit more shocking. Even though Vivien Leigh might have looked smitten with Clark Gable in Gone with the Wind behind the scenes, she wasn't exactly thrilled about their kissing scenes. In fact, she reportedly complained about Gable's breath, saying it was pretty bad, and all because of his dentures. You see, Gable had dental issues and wore false teeth, which didn't exactly make those romantic moments easy for Leigh. Remember how they manipulate movies to produce curated content? Well, this next one takes the cake. Marilyn Monroe's iconic white dress. In The 7-Year Itch, the iconic white dress donned by Marilyn Monroe wasn't actually white. While it looks perfectly white on screen, the filmmakers had to work around the limitations of the lighting and cameras of the time. Pure white would have been too bright and would have overexposed, so they chose a slightly cream-colored fabric instead. This way, the dress wouldn't look too washed out under the intense studio lights, and it still gave that classic dazzling effect on screen. It's a small detail, but one that made a big difference in creating that unforgettable scene. Speaking of unforgettable scenes, this next actor seemed very forgetful on set. Marlon Brando couldn't memorize lines. In The Godfather, Marlon Brando famously used cue cards, which were hidden all over the set. In some scenes, his lines were even taped to the actors' foreheads so he could read them while looking at them. Brando believed that not memorizing his lines made his performance feel more spontaneous and natural. It's a funny trick that helped him bring the unforgettable character of Vito Corleone to life, without having to rely on his memory. What is your memory of the film, My Fair Lady? Probably the amazing singing, right? Well, this would burst your bubble. The singing in My Fair Lady. Audrey Hepburn may have looked and acted the part of Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, 1964, but when it came to the singing, that wasn't actually her voice. Most of the vocals were dubbed by Marni Nixon, a talented singer who did a lot of behind-the-scenes work for Hollywood stars. Hepburn worked hard and practiced the songs for months, but the studio ultimately decided Nixon's voice fit the role better. Hepburn was disappointed, but she put her heart into acting, and together they created a performance that's still beloved today. For some films, it's all fake performance, but this next scene took being realistic to the next level. The horse's head scene from Godfather. In this chilling scene, the character of Jack Woltz, a Hollywood producer, wakes up to find the severed head of his prized racehorse placed in his bed as a warning from the mafia. Now most people may have concluded that the horse's head in that scene was fake, but believe it or not, it wasn't fake. It was real. The production used an actual horse's head, which they acquired from a dog food company. The crew made sure the head was fresh and lifelike, and it was so realistic that actor John Marley, who played the character receiving it in his bed, was genuinely horrified. The scene is shocking enough as it is, but knowing it was a real horse's head makes it even more unsettling. What's even more unsettling when fans learn about it is this next part. The piano in Casablanca. Remember that piano where Sam plays As Time Goes By? Well, it wasn't just an ordinary prop. It's become almost as iconic as the movie itself. But here's the thing. There wasn't just one piano used in the film. In fact, the famous piano that Sam plays in Rick's Cafe was sold multiple times over the years, often being touted as the only Casablanca piano. However, there were actually several pianos used during the filming, and the one that ended up being sold at auction wasn't even the original. It's a fun fact that adds a little mystery to the film's history. Just how many real pianos did the movie really have? Well, hopefully, no one stole any, which is more than can be said for the props in this next movie. Charlton Heston stealing the Ten Commandments. Known for his towering performances in films like The Ten Commandments, 1956, Charlton Heston apparently couldn't resist taking home a piece of the action. After filming, he actually took one of the Ten Commandments tablets as a souvenir. Heston, who played Moses in the epic film, reportedly loved the idea of keeping a relic from such an iconic movie, and the tablet became a bit of a personal memento. But sometimes personal mementos can become public property just like this. Red jacket in Rebel Without a Cause. James Dean's famous red jacket in Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, became almost as iconic as the actor himself. But here's the twist. After the film was done, the jacket didn't just sit in a costume department. It was reused in other teen movies of the 1950s and 60s. Studios loved the idea of reusing such a recognizable piece of clothing to save money, and the jacket showed up in various films, becoming a kind of recycled symbol of rebellious youth. It's one thing for an object to be recycled. This actor had his face transformed and recycled for our viewing pleasure. Frankenstein's makeup. Boris Karloff's monster, Frankenstein, 1931, is one of the most terrifying characters in film history, but what's even scarier is how the makeup was created. Karloff had to endure hours of makeup application to transform into the monster, but it wasn't just time-consuming, it was also incredibly uncomfortable. The famous flat-top head was made from layers of plaster and rubber, and Karloff had to be sewn into his costume every day. The heavy, tight makeup and costume often made him faint from exhaustion, and he couldn't even drink water during filming because the makeup was so delicate. Despite the grueling process, Karloff's dedication to the role made the character unforgettable. Now, actors are not the only ones with dedication. Some directors and producers hold their own and are super creative too. The shower scene in Psycho. In Psycho, 1960, Alfred Hitchcock pulled off one of the most iconic scenes in horror history, the shower scene that took a bloody turn. But the blood you see in that scene isn't actually blood at all. Since the film was shot in black and white, Hitchcock used Hershey's chocolate syrup instead. The syrup was the perfect consistency to mimic blood, and its dark, rich color looked realistic on camera. It's a clever little trick that helped make the infamous shower scene so unsettling, and it's hard to watch it today without thinking about the sweet ingredient behind such a terrifying moment. For this next actress, the ingredient of her appeal was so obvious to all. Bette Grable's iconic legs. Her legs were her signature feature, and she knew just how valuable they were. In fact, she had them insured for a whopping $1 million, a move that was practically unheard of at the time. Grable was one of the most popular stars of the 1940s, and her legs were considered one of her most iconic attributes, often showcased in her pin-up photos and films. The insurance policy was a publicity stunt, but it also helped cement her as one of Hollywood's most marketable stars. Famous or not, some movies can just slip up in the worst way, like this one. Chariot Race in Ben-Hur. It's so astonishing to see horrible film mistakes in an otherwise legendary film, and Ben-Hur is one of them. In the film, there's a famous chariot race that remains one of the most thrilling scenes in movie history. But what's interesting is that a stray Coca-Cola bottle can be spotted in the background during the race. This slip-up has been a fun piece of trivia for fans of the film. Despite the movie's epic scale and historical setting, a modern-day bottle made its way onto the set, probably unnoticed during filming. It's a quirky reminder that even in the most serious and grandiose films, mistakes can sometimes slip through the cracks. From slipping mistakes, this next one had actors slipping into unconsciousness. Flying monkey masks from Wizard of Oz. The iconic flying monkeys were not just a creepy part of the fantasy world of Wizard of Oz. They had a rather unsettling real-world detail. The masks the actors wore for their roles as the flying monkeys were so uncomfortable and hot that many of the actors would faint during the filming. Some of the performers even had to be helped off the set because they couldn't see through the masks and struggled to breathe. Despite the discomfort, those flying monkeys went on to become one of the most terrifying parts of the film, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the Wicked Witch's army. The fake shark in Jaws. The film's iconic shark, Bruce, wasn't exactly the smoothest operator. The mechanical shark frequently malfunctioned during filming, causing a lot of frustration for director Steven Spielberg and his crew. In fact, the shark broke down so often that Spielberg had to get creative. Instead of showing the shark constantly, he used suspense and sound to build tension, making the audience fear the shark before they even saw it. This decision ended up being one of the film's greatest strengths, and it helped Jaws become the thrilling classic we know today. Sometimes, a mistake in Hollywood can lead to something even better. King Kong's roar. The terrifying roar of King Kong in the 1933 film King Kong wasn't created by a lion, as many people believe. Instead, the iconic sound was a mix of various animal noises. The filmmakers combined the roars of a lion, tiger, and elephant, then added a touch of a hawk's cry to make it sound even more menacing. The result was a unique and unforgettable roar that helped establish King Kong as one of cinema's most fearsome creatures. It's a clever example of how sound design, using different elements together, can create something larger than life. Stray cat in Godfather. The cat that Marlon Brando holds in the famous opening scene wasn't part of the script at all. It was just a stray that wandered onto the set during filming. Brando, being the improviser he was, decided to pick it up and include it in the scene. The cat's calm and unbothered demeanor added a surprising contrast to the tense, dramatic moment, giving Vito Corleone an unexpected air of control and serenity. It's a great example of how spontaneity can enhance a scene, turning an unplanned moment into an iconic one. Titanic set in A Night to Remember. In the 1958 film A Night to Remember, which depicts the tragic sinking of the Titanic, the filmmakers used a real-life ocean liner to create the look of the ill-fated ship. The ship in question wasn't the Titanic, of course, but the RMS Coronia, a vessel that closely resembled the Titanic in both appearance and scale. The filmmakers even used real footage of the Coronia for several scenes, making the ship's portrayal in the film feel remarkably authentic. While the Coronia wasn't the Titanic, it still provided a sense of realism that added to the gravity of the story. The decision to incorporate real ship footage helped to enhance the film's impact, showing the grandeur of ocean liners from that era. It's a great example of how filmmakers from earlier decades used practical solutions to create stunning visuals and immerse audiences in the story, even before the age of CGI and modern special effects. Hidden message in Rear Window. If you take a close look at the windows of the building across from James Stewart's apartment in Rear Window, 1954, you'll notice something cool. There's a sign that says Hitchcock was here. It's a little hidden Easter egg, and it's one of Alfred Hitchcock's playful ways of leaving his mark on the film. Known for his love of cameos and subtle details, Hitchcock included this sneaky signature in the set as a fun, personal touch, and it's just one of those little things that makes watching his movies even more enjoyable for those who spot it. Cat in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Holly Golightly's cat in the movie doesn't have a name, which is actually kind of fitting for her character. Audrey Hepburn's character simply calls it Cat throughout the film. It's one of those little things that says a lot about who Holly is. She's this free-spirited, unpredictable woman who doesn't want to be tied down by anything, and that includes giving the cat a proper name. In a way, the nameless cat becomes a symbol of her own loneliness. Holly is always surrounded by people but is emotionally distant, much like the cat. It's a subtle yet powerful touch that helps us understand Holly's character even more, and over the years the cat has become just as iconic as Hepburn's own portrayal of the character. It's funny how such a small detail can leave such a lasting impression. Betty White in The Proposal. If you remember her cameo from The Proposal, you may be shocked to learn it wasn't something that was planned from the start. Originally, the role she plays wasn't even meant for her. The part was intended for a different actress, but after the filmmakers saw Betty White in another film, they realized she'd be perfect for the role. They quickly made the change, and it turned out to be a fantastic decision. Her performance in The Proposal ended up being one of her most memorable comedic moments in modern Hollywood. She brought her signature humor and charm, turning what could have been just a small role into one of the standout moments of the movie. It's a great example of how sometimes the right person for a role is found unexpectedly, and in Betty's case, it gave audiences another reason to fall in love with her legendary comedic timing. The Vertigo Dress. The iconic green dress Kim Novak wears in Vertigo, 1958, wasn't just a random costume. It was actually custom-made just for her. Alfred Hitchcock, known for his meticulous attention to detail, was very specific about how he wanted the dress to look. He even insisted on a special shade of green, one that would perfectly match the film's eerie, mysterious tone. This dress is featured in one of the most pivotal scenes in the movie, when Novak's character, Judy, undergoes a dramatic transformation. The green color itself plays a symbolic role, reflecting the themes of obsession and the uncanny that run throughout the film. It's a perfect example of Hitchcock's genius in using every detail, from costumes to colors, to deepen the atmosphere and enhance the story. Fake snow in White Christmas. The snow in the famous White Christmas number wasn't real at all. Instead, it was made from a mixture of soap flakes and other materials designed to look like snow on screen. The filmmakers had to get creative since real snow wouldn't work for filming indoors, especially under the bright studio lights. However, the fake snow had a bit of a problem. It was so light that it often got stuck in the performers' costumes. Between takes, the actors would have to be brushed off to get rid of the snow that clung to them. It's a small behind-the-scenes detail, but it shows how making something look perfect on camera often comes with unexpected challenges. Dog paid actor in Wizard of Oz. Here's an interesting fact of the movie. The dog playing Toto was actually paid more than the Munchkin actors. Toto, the adorable terrier, earned $125 a week for his role, while the Munchkin actors were paid only $50 a week. It's one of those oddities in film history that highlights how animal stars were sometimes treated more lavishly than human actors. While it may seem surprising today, it was a reflection of how Hollywood viewed animals as major assets to a production. Plus, Toto's role was pretty significant in the film, so maybe it makes sense he earned a little extra. Skull Island set in King Kong. The lush, mysterious Skull Island in King Kong, 1933, might look like a real, exotic location, but in reality, it was just a set. The jungle scenes were filmed on a soundstage, complete with painted backdrops and carefully crafted sets designed to give the illusion of a vast, untamed island. It's one of the early examples of movie magic, showing how filmmakers were able to create expansive and immersive worlds without the need for actual locations. Even though the island wasn't real, the way it was brought to life helped make King Kong one of the most iconic films of its time. The Kid set. Charlie Chaplin's iconic set for the orphanage was built in just one day. Chaplin and his crew worked tirelessly around the clock to put everything together quickly. Despite the rush, the result was one of the most memorable and beloved locations in silent film history. The set became such a crucial part of the film, helping to create the emotional depth and sense of struggle that Chaplin's character, along with the little boy, experienced. It's a great example of how Chaplin's dedication and resourcefulness made a lasting impact on filmmaking, even when working under tight deadlines. Betty's incredible style in All About Eve. Some of Bette Davis's character Margot Channing's outfits were actually pieces from Davis's own personal wardrobe. Costume designer William Travilla was so taken with her unique and elegant style that he decided to incorporate her real clothes into the film. This gave Margot's character even more authenticity and depth, as the clothing felt more true to who she was as a person. It's a fascinating detail, showing how Davis's personal style helped shape the role and made Margot Channing one of the most iconic characters in classic Hollywood. When it comes to Hollywood sweethearts, so many ladies are on the list, but none of these actresses were quite like the amazing Carol Wayne. There was more to her than met the eye, and men from all over the world were drawn to her for reasons beyond her physical beauty. The matinee lady effect. It's the ultimate example of why men were drawn to her. She wasn't just another pretty face. She had this magical blend of innocence and sensuality that was downright magnetic. She'd walk onto the Tonight Show set with that dazzling smile, playing this sweet but slightly ditzy character who seemed completely unaware of how jaw-droppingly gorgeous she was. That mix of naivety and bombshell energy? Men couldn't resist it. Her flirtation was never over the top. It wasn't aggressive or intimidating. It was playful. It was the kind of teasing that left men grinning, wondering if there was a wink hidden behind her big doe-like eyes. And then you'd have Johnny Carson, cool as ever, setting her up for these hilarious double entendres. The chemistry between them was electric. Johnny would toss out a sly line, and Carol, with perfect comedic timing, would deliver a somehow innocent and suggestive response. It was pure magic. But here's the thing. She owned that character. Men watching at home saw her as the ultimate fantasy, a woman who was stunning, funny, and approachable. She didn't come across as untouchable or overly polished like some other stars of her time. Instead, she felt like someone you'd dream about meeting at a party, The kind of woman who'd laugh at your jokes and make you feel like the most interesting guy in the room. And let's not forget how her presence amplified Johnny Carson's humor. She wasn't just there to stand and look pretty, she was a comedic partner. She'd roll with the jokes, often playing the oblivious foil to Carson's quick wit, and men ate it up because it made her seem even more endearing. She was the bombshell with a heart and a sense of humor, and that's a rare combination. Men didn't just want to look at her, they wanted to be around her. And she was a classic Hollywood beauty. When you think of the ultimate 1970s bombshell, she fits the picture perfectly. Her striking blonde hair was the kind of golden cascade that turned heads wherever she went, effortlessly glamorous without looking overdone. But her hourglass figure? It was pure old Hollywood, the kind of silhouette men dreamed about and women admired. And then there was her smile, radiant and warm, with just the right amount of playfulness to make you feel like she had a secret she might share, but only with you. What set Carol apart from many other beauties of her time was how she embodied the idealized look of the era while still feeling relatable. She didn't have the icy, untouchable vibe of someone like Grace Kelly or the overpowering appeal of Raquel Welch. Carol was glamorous, yes, but in a way that felt down to earth. Her beauty wasn't intimidating. It was approachable. She looked like the kind of woman you could take to a fancy dinner and still joke around with afterward. Compared to her contemporaries, she struck a balance that was rare. Marilyn Monroe before her was all about mystery and seduction, while 1970s stars like Farrah Fawcett leaned more toward fresh-faced, sporty allure. Carol, on the other hand, seemed to exist in this perfect middle ground, effortlessly sexy, but never over the top. She carried herself with an ease that made men feel like they might actually have a chance with her, even if she was light years out of their league. Her look was so iconic because it wasn't just about her features, it was about her presence. When she walked into a room or appeared on screen, she didn't just attract attention, she held it. That mix of timeless beauty and an inviting charm was exactly what made Carol Wayne stand out and why she remained such a memorable figure from that golden era of television. Her magnetic personality. Her warm and friendly personality made her truly unforgettable. People who worked with her often described her as kind, approachable, and genuinely down-to-earth qualities that set her apart in the often cutthroat world of Hollywood. Unlike some stars of her era, she didn't put on airs or treat people like they were beneath her. Instead, she had a way of making everyone feel at ease, whether they were a co-star, a crew member, or a fan. One story that keeps popping up is how she treated everyone on set with the same level of respect and kindness. From assistants to producers, people would recall her stopping to chat, flashing that famous smile and making them feel seen. She had this knack for breaking the ice in a way that felt natural, even in high-pressure environments. For someone who radiated star power, she was remarkably humble. Johnny Carson, for one, seemed to really appreciate her easygoing nature. While he was known to have a sharp wit and sometimes a prickly demeanor, Carol's warmth helped create that effortless chemistry they shared during their sketches. She had a way of rolling with his jokes and never taking herself too seriously, which audiences loved. That same ability to laugh at herself made her even more endearing. She wasn't just another pretty face, but someone who could laugh along with the audience and with herself. There's another layer to her personality that made her relatable. Despite her fame, Carol was known to struggle with self-doubt and insecurity. Instead of hiding it, she let glimpses of that vulnerability show, and people loved her all the more for it. It made her human, someone you could root for, not just admire from afar. At the end of the day, Carol Wayne wasn't just someone men wanted to be with, she was someone everyone wanted to be around. Her genuine kindness and ability to connect with people made her as unforgettable off-screen as she was on it. Her playful humor. While she's best remembered for her comedic turn as the matinee lady on The Tonight Show, Carol showed time and again that she was far more than a one-note actress. Her ability to step into different roles, from drama to light-hearted comedy, left a lasting impression on audiences, and men, in particular, couldn't get enough of it. In the early stages of her career, Carol appeared in a variety of TV shows and films that showcased her range. She wasn't confined to one genre. For instance, she had roles on TV series like I Dream of Jeannie and the Man from UNCLE, where she played everything from a glamorous guest star to a more dramatic, mysterious character. These appearances were proof that she could adapt to any role, never letting her beauty overshadow her acting chops. In films like The Happy Hooker Goes to Washington and The Big Bus, Carol also showed her talent for both comedic and slightly risque roles, playing characters with humor and charm, but also depth. Men admired how effortlessly she shifted between roles, whether she was delivering deadpan comedy or adding a bit of dramatic weight to a scene. It was this ability to adapt that made her even more captivating. She wasn't just playing a part. She was bringing something unique to each role, keeping audiences interested and engaged. What really stood out was Carol's ability to balance her glamorous blonde bombshell persona with a more subtle, nuanced performance. In one instance, she played a more serious role on The Rockford Files, where she wasn't just eye candy, but a complex character with a storyline that required genuine acting. Men who had originally admired her for her comedic timing and beauty were now impressed by her depth and range. It wasn't just about looking good, she was showing them that she could handle more than just the dumb blonde stereotype. This versatility earned her a lot of respect. Men didn't just admire her for her beauty anymore, they saw her as someone with serious acting ability. She could walk into a comedy scene and have everyone in stitches, then shift into a more serious moment without missing a beat. That's what made her stand out in Hollywood, especially when so many actresses were pigeonholed into one type of role. Carol never allowed herself to be typecast, and men admired her for that. She was more than just the girl next door or the bombshell. She was an actress who could hold her own no matter the role. Her versatility made her even more appealing because it showcased her as an all-around woman, someone who could light up a screen with her humor, dazzle with her looks, and still hold the audience's attention when the story got serious. This rare combination is exactly why men admired Carol so much. She wasn't just a fleeting star. She was a true talent who could thrive in any role, and that kept her interesting long after the screen went dark. Her real vulnerability. Men were drawn to this aspect of her personality because it gave her an authenticity that made her feel real, like someone you could connect with on a deeper level. Behind her dazzling smile and glamorous image, Carol struggled with self-doubt and insecurity, something she often kept hidden from the public eye. Those who knew her best, though, recognized that she was not immune to the pressures that came with being a public figure in Hollywood. She sometimes questioned her looks, her worth, and her abilities, which, ironically, made her even more endearing. She wasn't perfect, and she didn't pretend to be. She showed a side of herself that was unguarded, and that's what made her more approachable and human in the eyes of men. What really made this vulnerability stand out was how she balanced it with the image of the glamorous star. When Carol stepped onto a stage or appeared on a talk show, it was clear she had a command of the room, but behind that public persona was a woman who longed for reassurance, just like anyone else. That contrast between the poised, on-screen bombshell and the more uncertain woman off-camera made her even more appealing. It was as though she wasn't trying to live up to an unattainable ideal. Instead, she allowed herself to be real, and that authenticity was something men appreciated. Men found this vulnerability refreshing because it's rare to see a woman in Hollywood, especially one as beautiful and glamorous as Carol, who didn't constantly project a sense of invincibility. Instead of hiding her flaws, Carol allowed them to be seen. It was this self-awareness, this ability to acknowledge her insecurities, that made her feel more grounded, more like someone you could actually get to know and understand. And yet, despite her vulnerability, she still commanded attention, and men found that balance irresistible. There's something deeply attractive about someone who is secure enough to embrace their imperfections. Carol's ability to show a softer, more introspective side while still radiating warmth and beauty is what made her so magnetic. She wasn't just a star, she was a person with depth. someone you could relate to beyond her on-screen roles. This vulnerability wasn't always visible in her work, but it shone through in the little moments. The way she interacted with her co-stars, her willingness to share a laugh at her own expense, or the times when she let her guard down just enough to reveal that she wasn't perfect. It made men admire her more because she wasn't just a fantasy or a flawless figure. She was someone who had her struggles, just like anyone else, and that made her more real and more lovable. Her captivating eyes. Carol Wayne's eyes were, without a doubt, one of her most captivating features, and they played a huge role in why men were so drawn to her. They were extremely beautiful and had an incredible depth that could convey multiple emotions at once. In every scene, her big, expressive eyes spoke volumes, often saying more than words ever could. Whether she was in a comedic skit, a dramatic role, or just being herself on talk shows, those eyes became a window into her soul, making her instantly magnetic to anyone who watched. Her eyes had this perfect combination of innocence, mischief, and allure. They could look wide and innocent, like a sweet girl next door, and then, in the next moment, flicker with a hint of mischief or flirtation, making it clear that there was more to her than met the eye. In comedy sketches, her eyes were often used to her advantage. When she'd deliver a deadpan line or play the naive character, those big eyes would often give away her true understanding of the joke, creating a subtle but playful tension that made her even more endearing. In moments of romance or flirtation, her eyes were mesmerizing. They could convey a sense of longing or vulnerability, drawing men in with an unspoken promise of mystery and possibility. It wasn't just about how they looked, it was about how they made you feel. Carol's gaze had a way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room, even if you were just watching her on TV. There was an intimacy in her eyes that made every scene more engaging. Her eyes were also a part of her charm in real life. When you hear people talk about Carol Wayne off-screen, many mention how her eyes would light up when she smiled or how they could convey warmth and kindness in an instant. Men admired how those eyes seemed to reflect her personality, genuine, approachable, but also undeniably captivating. What made Carol's eyes stand out even more was how they contrasted with the glamour and the polish of Hollywood at the time. While many actresses were made up to perfection, Carol's eyes told a different story. They were natural, full of life, and full of expression. They gave her an authenticity that set her apart from the typical Hollywood look. It wasn't just her beauty that men were drawn to. It was the way her eyes told stories, whether it was through the innocence of her gaze, the hint of mischief behind it, or the allure that made her impossible to look away from. Signature presence. There was something about the way she carried herself that commanded attention without needing to be the loudest or the most in-your-face person in the room. Whether she was on The Tonight Show next to Johnny Carson or in any scene, Carol had this quiet but powerful magnetism that made her stand out instantly. It was a rare quality, one that didn't rely on constant chatter or over-the-top gestures. Instead, it was all about the subtlety of her demeanor. First, there was the way Carol used her expressions. Her face could convey so much with just a slight arch of her eyebrow or the faintest smile. She didn't need to overact or exaggerate. With one look, she could go from playful to serious, from innocent to mischievous, and it always felt completely natural. Men were drawn to that. It wasn't the loud, dramatic gestures they were used to from Hollywood starlets. Carol's ability to draw attention through just a flicker of expression was fascinating. Then there was her posture. Carol always stood tall with grace, yet there was something incredibly relaxed about the way she held herself. She didn't seem stiff or forced. There was a confidence in the way she stood that came off as effortless. When she was in a scene, whether she was delivering a joke or just sharing a moment with Johnny Carson, she always seemed comfortable in her own skin. Her confidence didn't scream for attention, it simply was. Men admired that kind of natural, unshakable presence. She didn't have to prove anything. She simply existed, and that drew people in. Even when she was standing next to someone like Johnny Carson with his larger-than-life personality, Carol's presence was undeniable. She didn't need to be the center of attention to steal the scene. Just her standing there with her charm and grace made her magnetic. When she flashed a smile or tilted her head slightly, it was as if the whole room focused on her. She had this ability to make even the most mundane moments feel electric, simply because she was in the room. Men were drawn to this signature presence because it was different from what they saw in most Hollywood actresses of the time. While many were loud, flashy, or trying hard to be noticed, Carol had an ease about her that made you want to pay attention. It was as if she knew exactly how much to give, never too little but never overdone. She could be quiet yet commanding, subtle but striking, and that was part of what made her so unforgettable. Whether she was cracking a joke with Johnny or simply sitting in the background, Carol Wayne had a way of making every moment feel special just because she was there. Her quiet confidence. She didn't need to constantly remind everyone of her beauty or talent. She simply was beautiful and talented, and she carried herself with a quiet assurance that made her even more attractive. It wasn't the loud, attention-grabbing confidence often associated with Hollywood stars. Hers was more refined, more natural. Men loved that about her because it felt real. Carol didn't walk into a room and demand attention. She didn't need to. There was something about her presence that made you notice her without her having to say or do anything. Whether she was on The Tonight Show beside Johnny Carson or on set, she radiated an inner confidence that wasn't cocky or overbearing, but instead, it was a calm, collected strength that was magnetic. What made Carol's confidence so special was that it didn't come across as arrogance. She didn't flaunt her beauty or her success. She simply embraced it. While many stars in Hollywood could be seen trying to outshine everyone, Carol had a way of standing out without even trying. Her beauty was undeniable, but she never used it as a tool to overshadow others. There was an ease in the way she moved through the world, whether she was making a joke, sharing a moment with a co-star, or just sitting in the background. Men admired that effortless self-assurance because it felt grounded and authentic. It made her approachable rather than intimidating. Her confidence also made her incredibly charismatic. When she spoke, you listened, not because she demanded attention, but because there was something magnetic in her demeanor. She knew who she was and didn't feel the need to prove herself to anyone. It was a trait that made her even more appealing to men because it signaled that she wasn't just a pretty face. She had substance and an inner strength that didn't need to be broadcasted. It was the kind of confidence that made Carol feel like someone you could actually connect with, someone who was both strong and relatable at the same time. Men found that balance irresistible. Her ability to shine without overshadowing others, her self-assurance without arrogance. It was this quiet confidence that made Carol Wayne an unforgettable figure. Soft and compassionate. By every stretch of the imagination, she was someone who genuinely cared about others, and it showed in everything she did. Those who worked with her consistently spoke about how kind, thoughtful, and generous she was, both on and off the screen. This warmth made her someone you wanted to be around, someone you could talk to easily without the usual walls that come with fame. One of the things that stood out most about Carol was her ability to make people feel comfortable. Whether it was a fellow actor, a crew member, or even someone she met briefly, she had this way of making them feel seen and heard. She wasn't just nodding along to a conversation, she was fully present. That kind of attention to detail, the ability to make people feel important in an often fast-paced, impersonal industry, was something rare. Men especially were drawn to that. In a world full of superficial interactions, Carol's ability to be genuinely kind and compassionate was incredibly appealing. It was a reminder that beauty and fame don't need to overshadow who you are as a person. Carol's compassion wasn't just about being friendly, it was about her generosity of spirit. There are several stories of how she would go out of her way to help others, whether it was offering support to a colleague who was going through a tough time or just being a sounding board for someone in need. She didn't expect anything in return. She just had a natural instinct to care for the people around her. Men loved that quality because it showed depth. It was easy to admire someone for their looks, but it was the kindness behind those looks that made her unforgettable. She also had a softness in her approach to humor. While many actresses could be sharp or harsh in their delivery, Carol had a gentler way of getting laughs. Her comedic timing was flawless, but there was always an underlying sweetness in her performances. She didn't need to be biting or sarcastic to be funny. Her humor came from a place of warmth. That made her more relatable and human, which men found incredibly attractive. Hollywood always had shining stars, but beneath the surface lies a darker side, a history marked by manipulation, betrayal, and cruelty. Some actresses didn't just play villains on screen. They brought their ruthlessness into real life. From feuds that destroyed careers to schemes that went far beyond the cameras, their actions weren't just scandalous, they were downright chilling. But who were these women, and what made them cross the line? Norma Shearer. She was a stunning, poised actress at the top of her game in the 1930s, but with a little secret weapon up her sleeve: her husband, Irving Thalberg, the head honcho of MGM, the most powerful studio at the time. Being married to the boy wonder of Hollywood meant Norma wasn't just any actress. She practically had a direct line to the casting couch, and not in the way you'd think. Here's where it gets juicy. Norma was accused of using her marital connection to snag roles that other actresses were gunning for, sometimes ruthlessly. Take Joan Crawford, for instance. She and Norma were in a not-so-subtle battle for the spotlight. Joan once said, "How can I compete with Norma? She sleeps with the boss." It wasn't just Joan, though. Myrna Loy, another MGM star, also felt the sting of Norma's influence. Loy believed she lost roles because Norma had first dibs on the juiciest scripts. Norma wasn't just sitting around waiting for opportunities to fall into her lap, though. Oh no, she hustled. She even went so far as to commission provocative photos of herself to prove she could handle sexier, edgier roles like the lead in The Divorcee, a part that won her an Oscar. That move was bold, but it didn't win her many friends. Other actresses saw it as her playing dirty, using her privilege and connections to bulldoze her way to the top. And here's the kicker: Norma wasn't apologetic about any of it. She knew the power she had, and she used it shamelessly. To her, it was survival in a cutthroat industry. But to those on the losing end, like Joan and Myrna, it looked more like sabotage. Norma's career eventually faded, but her reputation as a savvy and selfish player in Hollywood's golden era is still part of her legacy. Was she a villain, or just a smart woman making the most of her circumstances? Depends on how you look at it. Either way, she left her mark, and not everyone was happy about it. Mae West. When you hear her name, you think of Hollywood's original queen of sass and self-promotion. Mae wasn't just a star, she was a force of nature, strutting through the entertainment world like she owned it. And honestly, she kinda did. But here's the thing. While Mae was bold, brilliant, and completely unforgettable, she had a way of making everything revolve around one person: Mae West. Mae was all about Mae, and she didn't care who got overshadowed along the way. In interviews, she'd dominate the conversation with her razor-sharp wit and trademark double entendres, barely giving anyone else a chance to shine. Co-stars, directors, they were just supporting characters in the Mae West show. She once said, "I never loved anybody as much as I loved myself." And let me tell you, she lived by that motto. On set, Mae insisted on having complete control over her lines, her wardrobe, and even how her scenes were shot. Directors found her exhausting, and co-stars often complained they were reduced to mere props. One infamous story involves a young Cary Grant, who got his big break in She Done Him Wrong because Mae thought he was hot. She literally plucked him out of obscurity and made him her leading man, but only because he made her look good. Mae even wrote most of her own scripts, which sounds impressive until you realize they were mostly vehicles for her to deliver one-liners and look fabulous. If a scene wasn't all about her, she'd either rewrite it or refuse to shoot it. Her co-stars? They were lucky if they got a word in edgewise. But here's the thing about Mae. She didn't care if people thought she was selfish. In fact, she leaned into it. She famously said, "I'm not afraid of criticism. I gave up that fear long ago." To May, being selfish wasn't a flaw. It was a survival strategy in an industry that chews people up and spits them out. So, love her or hate her, Mae West made Hollywood play by her rules. Was she selfish? Absolutely. But she was also a trailblazer, proving that a woman could run the show and own it without apologizing for a second. Marilyn Monroe. She had the looks, the charm, and that breathy voice that made her an icon, but behind all the glamour was a woman who didn't always play nice. Sure, Marilyn seemed like the sweet, shy girl next door, but in reality, she could be manipulative, selfish, and frustrating to deal with. Marilyn had a way of making everything about her, especially when it came to relationships. She charmed men with ease, but many of them, from Joe DiMaggio to Arthur Miller, felt like they were used as stepping stones or props to maintain her image. Marilyn craved adoration, and if she wasn't the center of attention, she'd find a way to turn the spotlight back on herself. She had a knack for keeping people hooked on her vulnerability, but some insiders felt it was all part of her act, a way to control those around her. On set, Marilyn's behavior drove directors and co-stars up the wall. She was notoriously late, sometimes by hours, leaving entire crews waiting while she finished getting ready or dealt with her personal dramas. Directors like Billy Wilder, who worked with her on Some Like It Hot, called her a nightmare to work with, even if the results were worth it. Studio executives lost money because of her delays, and she'd show up unprepared, forgetting her lines and making scenes take twice as long to shoot. What's wild is that Marilyn's antics weren't always accidental. Some believed she showed up late or caused chaos on purpose just to keep everyone off balance and ensure she remained the most important person in the room. She once said, "If I'd observed all the rules, I'd never have got anywhere." And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know. Still, Marilyn's charm was her secret weapon. Even when she upset people, they couldn't stay mad for long. She knew how to win people over with a pout or a laugh, and she leaned into that power whenever it suited her. Was she selfish? Probably. But in her world, where everyone wanted a piece of her, maybe it was the only way she knew how to survive. Lana Turner. She was known as the ultimate Hollywood glamour queen, famous for her beauty, charisma, and string of headline-grabbing romances. But beneath the shimmering exterior, Lana's personal life was a whirlwind of drama and questionable priorities, especially when it came to her role as a mother. Her focus on fame, love, and maintaining her image often left her daughter, Cheryl Crane, feeling like an afterthought in her life. Lana's love life was a tabloid dream, or nightmare, depending on how you look at it. She married 8 times to 7 different men, and each relationship seemed more chaotic than the last. Her constant search for love and validation often overshadowed her responsibilities as a mother. Cheryl, her only child, grew up in the middle of this storm, frequently shuffled to the side as Lana pursued her next romance or career move. The most infamous chapter of Lana's life, and the one that put her relationship with Cheryl under a microscope, was the demise of her abusive boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, in 1958. Stompanato was a mobster who had been physically and emotionally abusive to Lana. One night, during a particularly violent argument between Lana and Johnny, 14-year-old Cheryl intervened. She grabbed a knife and stabbed Stompanato to protect her mother. The incident was ruled justifiable homicide, but it threw Cheryl into the spotlight and left her emotionally scarred. Many people blamed Lana for exposing Cheryl to such a toxic environment in the first place. Critics said Lana's pattern of prioritizing her own happiness, especially in her choice of volatile, dangerous men, put her daughter in harm's way. Cheryl later revealed that she felt neglected and isolated, living in the shadow of her mother's glamorous yet chaotic life. She described how Lana's obsession with her public image often left her feeling like an accessory, not a priority. Even after the Stompanato tragedy, Lana continued to focus on maintaining her movie star persona, often at the expense of her relationship with Cheryl. Their mother-daughter bond remained strained for years, with Cheryl struggling to find her own identity outside of Lana's shadow. Lana's story is a complex one. On the one hand, she was a woman navigating a male-dominated industry, doing whatever it took to stay on top. On the other hand, her relentless pursuit of fame and love left behind a trail of emotional wreckage, with her daughter paying the steepest price. It's a classic case of Hollywood glamour hiding a much darker reality underneath. Gloria Swanson. This woman wasn't just a Hollywood actress. She was a powerhouse. In the silent film era, she ruled the screen with her dramatic flair, extravagant wardrobe, and larger-than-life persona. But behind all of that, Swanson had a reputation for doing whatever it took to get ahead, even if it meant stepping on a few toes or breaking hearts along the way. Swanson's ambition was unmatched. She wasn't content with being just another actress. She wanted to be the star. And she wasn't afraid to manipulate the people around her to climb higher. One of the most talked about examples was her relationship with Joseph P. Kennedy, father of future President John F. Kennedy. Kennedy wasn't just her lover. He was also her financier, helping to fund her lavish lifestyle and her failing production company. Swanson benefited greatly from the relationship, but when the financial fallout came, Kennedy walked away relatively unscathed, while Swanson's career took a hit. Critics argue she used Kennedy as much as he used her, making their affair a textbook case of mutual manipulation. Professionally, Swanson had a way of alienating people. She was fiercely independent and demanded creative control over her projects, which wasn't common for actresses at the time. While her drive was admirable, it didn't win her many friends in the industry. Directors and producers often found her difficult to work with because she insisted on doing things her way, even if it caused friction on set. Her personal life was just as messy. Swanson married 6 times, and her relationships often ended in scandal or bitterness. She seemed to view her partners as stepping stones, prioritizing her career over building lasting connections. Her third husband, French aristocrat Henri de la Falaise, was a particularly dramatic case. Their marriage gave her an air of European sophistication that elevated her status, but it ended when the glitter faded, leaving yet another broken tie in her wake. By the time she starred in Sunset Boulevard, her iconic comeback role that mirrored her own life, Swanson's reputation as a self-serving, fiercely ambitious star had already been cemented. In many ways, her performance as Norma Desmond was more autobiographical than anyone realized. Was Gloria Swanson a villain? Not exactly. She was a woman in an unforgiving industry, fighting for control of her destiny. But her relentless ambition often left others hurt, discarded, or disillusioned. To some, she was a trailblazer. To others, she was simply ruthless. Tula Bankhead. If you thought the luxurious lifestyle and fame of old Hollywood was all about prim and proper behavior, Bankhead proved you wrong. She was loud, brash, and lived life on her own terms, often at the expense of everyone around her. Bankhead's reputation for wild behavior was legendary. She was known for her heavy drinking, drug use, and a string of fiery affairs that were as scandalous as they were public. But what really set her apart was her complete lack of a filter. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind, and when she did, it was often sharp, biting, and at times cruel. Her sharp tongue was both a weapon and a shield. Bankhead had a knack for making ruthless, cutting remarks about everyone, from co-stars to directors and even her own family. She once told a fellow actress, "I don't care what you do as long as you don't do it in the street and frighten the horses," a line that perfectly summed up her unapologetic nature. She would go out of her way to make people uncomfortable, whether by mocking others' looks or questioning their intelligence. It wasn't that she was insecure, quite the opposite. She just didn't care about anyone else's feelings. Her cruelty extended beyond just words, too. On set, Bankhead was known for being difficult to work with, often causing trouble during shoots. Directors found her hard to control, and she frequently showed up late or in no condition to work, thanks to her partying habits. Yet somehow she managed to still get roles, largely due to her outrageous charm and undeniable screen presence. Bankhead's personal life was just as turbulent. She had multiple love affairs, some with famous men and women, but never seemed to form lasting connections. She used people as disposable objects to satisfy her own needs, whether it was attention, companionship, or just a wild night of fun. For her, relationships were more about entertainment than genuine emotional connection. Yet, despite all the chaos, Tula Bankhead became a cult figure, beloved by some for her outlandishness and celebrated for living a life that most could only dream of in terms of freedom, albeit with consequences. She didn't give a damn about social norms or expectations, and while many found her antics tiresome or even cruel, others admired her boldness. She lived life on her own terms, and damn the consequences. In the end, Tula Bankhead was more than just a Hollywood star. She was a chaotic force of nature, a person who didn't care what others thought, and who would rather burn bridges than play nice. In a way, she was the perfect reflection of an industry that often valued the appearance of perfection over the messiness of real life. Barbara Stanwyck. She had a reputation for being a master at playing tough, no-nonsense characters on screen, but it seems she took a bit of that tough exterior into her personal life too. Stanwyck was all about self-preservation. She knew how to build a career and maintain an image, but she also had a knack for cutting ties with people when they no longer served her interests. She wasn't the type to keep people around just for the sake of it, whether it was friends, co-stars, or even family. If someone no longer had a role in her life, they were quickly shown the door. There was no room for sentimentality in Stanwyck's world. Her fiercely private nature didn't help her popularity in Hollywood circles either. While other stars might bask in the spotlight and engage with their colleagues or fans, Stanwyck kept her distance, often keeping to herself or her closest circle of people. She had a strict keep your business to yourself policy, which sometimes made her seem aloof, standoffish, or even unapproachable. This detached nature didn't endear her to some of her co-stars or those working closely with her. Despite being a beloved and respected actress, she often isolated herself on set, leaving others to feel like they didn't have a real connection with her. There was a certain coldness to her, especially when it came to personal relationships. She had 2 marriages, both of which ended badly. The first to actor Frank Fay was rocky, marked by infidelity and tension, and after their divorce, Stanwyck's relationships with men were often seen as transactional rather than emotionally fulfilling. Stanwyck's approach to relationships wasn't just about keeping things private. It was about control. She was known for playing the role of the hard-nosed, calculating woman in many of her films, but it seems that role extended off-screen too. When she felt someone was a threat to her career, her personal space, or her privacy, they were quickly cut off. It wasn't about being mean. It was about protecting her territory, her image, and her career from anything that might cause her harm. Though many admired her for her unmatched acting talent, her emotional detachment and self-preserving nature left a trail of broken ties in Hollywood. While she was deeply respected for her work and known for being a professional on set, she wasn't the kind of person who would stick around for the long haul when it came to friendships or anything that didn't directly benefit her. Stanwyck's legacy is filled with glowing accolades for her skill, but her personal story is one of cold pragmatism and calculated decisions. She wasn't afraid to burn bridges if it meant advancing herself or protecting her space. Bette Davis. She was raw, unapologetic, and fiercely determined to maintain her star status no matter what it took. But in her relentless pursuit of stardom, Davis wasn't exactly concerned with how many bridges she burned or who got offended along the way. In fact, she seemed to almost revel in her reputation for being tough, demanding, and sometimes downright cruel. Her famous feuds and sharp tongue were as much a part of her legacy as her Oscar-winning performances. One of the most legendary and most vicious rivalries in Hollywood history was the one between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Their feud, which started in the 1930s, reached new heights when they were cast as the leads in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962. The two actresses couldn't have been more different, and their animosity went beyond mere professional competition. Davis once said, "She's a bitch, but she's my bitch." That pretty much sums up the animosity between them. There was no love lost, only cold, calculated contempt. The stories from the set of Baby Jane are legendary. They would constantly try to one-up each other, sabotaging each other's scenes and playing psychological games behind the scenes. It wasn't just on-screen drama. It was real, personal, and filled with spite. But Davis didn't reserve her sharp tongue for just one person. She was known for cutting people down, colleagues or not. She didn't care if she offended anyone with her direct and often hurtful criticisms. Directors, co-stars, and even studio heads could find themselves on the receiving end of Davis's biting remarks. She was a woman who demanded perfection from herself and everyone around her, and if you didn't measure up, you were fair game. If you couldn't take the heat, you were quickly discarded. It wasn't about making friends for Betty. It was about making sure she stayed on top, no matter the cost. Davis's famous outbursts and public criticism didn't make her popular in Hollywood, but they certainly kept her in the conversation. She was known for her bluntness and her refusal to play the game the way the studio system wanted her to. While many stars of the time were busy towing the line and maintaining a squeaky clean image, Davis made it clear she was going to do things her way, even if it meant stepping on a few toes along the way. Her story is one of fierce determination, but also one marked by a trail of offended colleagues and damaged relationships. Davis wasn't afraid to ruffle feathers if it meant maintaining her status as one of the greatest actresses in Hollywood, and while that made her unforgettable, it also made her a polarizing figure. In the end, Bette Davis proved that in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, it wasn't enough to just be talented. You also had to be willing to fight, even if it meant losing a few friends along the way. Joan Crawford. Here's what you may not know. Joan Crawford is one of the most infamous stars in Hollywood history, but not for the reasons most would expect. While she was adored by millions for her glamorous roles behind closed doors, Crawford's life was a storm of manipulation, control, and a relentless desire for success at any cost. Crawford was known for putting her career above everything else, family included. She often seemed to view her relationships, especially with her children, as mere extensions of her public image, which she worked tirelessly to maintain. But her personal life was far from ideal, and it wasn't long before rumors began to swirl about how she treated her family, especially her children. In her later years, her adopted daughter, Christina Crawford, famously penned a memoir called Mommy Dearest, in which she accused Joan of severe emotional and physical abuse. The book portrayed Crawford as a cold, controlling mother, and the revelations were shocking. Christina described Joan as a woman who expected perfection, punished her children for minor transgressions, and was a tyrant behind closed doors. When Helen Mirren first started her career, one could tell that she may have potential to be a star, an icon in Hollywood.
Please welcome to the stage Dame Helen Mirren.
But as soon as she plunged in, Helen silenced all doubters, not just to her talent, but her amazing range and flexibility when it comes to the roles she took on. Some of them proud and authoritative, and others just plain shocking. Beatty in Hussy. No doubt, Helen Mirren has incredible versatility. At the start of her career, her portrayal of Beatty in the 1980 film Hussy stands as a fascinating testament to her acting prowess. After earlier notable performances in the 1976 film adaptation of Hamlet and the controversial Caligula in 1979, Mirren took on a character that would further solidify her status as a captivating screen presence. Set against the backdrop of a high-class London cabaret, Mirren's character, Beatty, makes a living as a prostitute, a profession that adds layers of complexity to her role. Her on-screen chemistry with John Shea, who plays Emery, her technician boyfriend, creates an intriguing dynamic. The tension that arises due to Beatty's profession adds depth to the narrative, giving viewers a glimpse into the complexities of their relationship. While Hussey might not be hailed as a cinematic masterpiece, it's Mirren's performance that elevates it beyond its shortcomings. Her portrayal of Beatty is nothing short of captivating, and she breathes life into the character with a smoldering intensity. The enigmatic allure she exudes not only draws in the characters within the film, but also ensnares the audience in its magnetic pull. Critics and fans alike were entranced by Mirren's portrayal in Hussey. Her ability to convey a wide range of emotions from vulnerability to strength was lauded by many. Critics also recognized that her presence transcended the limitations of the film's plot, making it a memorable experience. Mirren's future Oscar-winning performances were foreshadowed in this role, as her talent shone brilliantly even in a film that might have otherwise gone unnoticed. In Hussey, Mirren's Beatty is a character who defies expectations and challenges stereotypes. Her performance tells of her ability to transform even the most unconventional roles into memorable cinematic moments. Beatty's smoldering look and Mirren's remarkable acting skill create a character that leaves an indelible mark on the audience's memory. Now, admittedly, Hussey, as a movie, was sort of a hit and miss, but many of the earlier viewers believe that Helen Mirren's portrayal of Beatty is undoubtedly one of the film's redeeming qualities. She was loved for her ability to immerse herself in the character and convey its complexities while also being creative and improvising where necessary. Beatty's presence in the film brought to life by Mirren adds depth and intrigue, making Hussey a noteworthy entry in Helen Mirren's impressive filmography. This role was just one of many in her career that showcased her ability to surprise and captivate audiences, foreshadowing the many accolades that would later come her way. Tanya Kerbook in 2010. 2010 was the sequel to Stanley Kubrick's iconic 2001, A Space Odyssey, and is often regarded as a cinematic enigma. The film is so profound that many find a hard time believing the film exists. Released nearly 2 decades after the original masterpiece, where 2010 continues the epic journey into space, picking up the story 9 years after the mysterious failure of the Discovery 1 mission. In this ambitious follow-up, a band of explorers embarks on a mission to Jupiter, aiming to unlock the secrets of the cosmos. A huge contributing factor to the mesmerizing effect of 2010 is the cast, and although it included major talents like Roy Schneider and John Lithgow, it's Helen Mirren who shines brightly in her role as Captain Tanya Kerbook. Mirren's portrayal of this Russian character adds a layer of depth and intrigue to the film. As the commander of the Leonov, Russia's spacecraft tasked with investigating the mysterious failure of Discovery 1, Mirren's character holds a tremendous responsibility. Not only must she navigate the complexities of space exploration, but she also finds herself at the center of enormous political tension back on Earth. Mirren's performance as Captain Kerbook is nothing short of steely determination. She embodies the role with an authoritative presence that resonates throughout the film. Her convincing Russian accent lends authenticity to the character, immersing viewers in the tension-filled world of space exploration and international politics. Critics and audiences alike were captivated by Helen Mirren's portrayal in 2010. Her ability to convey the weight of leadership, the intricacies of command, and the challenges of diplomacy in the vastness of space was met with acclaim. In a film filled with scientific marvels and existential questions, Mirren's performance was a welcome surprise of just how versatile and talented she is. Mrs. Tingle in Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Helen Mirren's unexpected portrayal of Mrs. Tingle in the 1999 dark comedy Teaching Mrs. Tingle is true evidence of her remarkable range as an actress. This role is arguably the most surprising entry on her extensive list of performances. In the same year that earned her an Emmy Award for her portrayal of Ayn Rand in The Passion of Ayn Rand, Mirren took on the role of the vindictive history teacher at the center of this darkly comedic tale. In Teaching Mrs. Tingle, Mirren's character, Mrs. Tingle, becomes the nemesis of Lee Ann Watson, brilliantly played by Katie Holmes alongside Luke Cherner and Jolynn Jordan. Mirren's presence in this film is a departure from her usual roles, and she revealed feeling thrilled when Williamson thought of her for the part. Mrs. Tingle is undeniably the highlight of the film, with Helen Mirren delivering a performance that strikes the perfect balance between exaggerated dark comedy and the nuanced manipulation of a seasoned academic. Her portrayal of this formidable character is both wickedly funny and chillingly convincing. Mirren's ability to infuse depth into Mrs. Tingle's character makes her a standout in a genre not typically associated with her acting repertoire. Critics and audiences were intrigued by Mirren's unexpected turn in Teaching Mrs. Tingle. Her ability to embody the role of a strict and vengeful teacher while adding layers of complexity to the character earned her praise. The film itself may have been a dark teen flick, but Mirren's performance elevated it to a new level, making it a memorable and unique entry in her list of performances. In a year that saw her shine in diverse roles, she added an unexpected twist to her filmography with this character. Mirren's ability to tackle the challenging aspects of Mrs. Tingle's persona, from dark humor to academic manipulation, showcases her immense talent and surprising flexibility. Dominique in Raising Helen. In the world of dramedies, there's one film that showcases both heart and humor, and that's Raising Helen, directed by the legendary Gary Marshall. At its heart, the film revolves around Kate Hudson's character, Helen, who unexpectedly finds herself faced with the daunting task of raising her sister's 3 young children after a tragic loss. But what adds an unexpected twist to this tale is Helen Mirren's unforgettable portrayal of Dominique, Helen's no-nonsense boss and the formidable head of a renowned New York modeling agency, bearing her name as its illustrious namesake. Mirren's moments in the film may be fleeting, but they leave an indelible impression. As Dominique, she channels the essence of high-powered fashionistas, reminiscent of the Anna Wintours of the world. Her character exudes authority and sophistication, creating a fascinating contrast to the challenges that Helen faces in her newfound role as a guardian. Much like her commanding presence as Tanya Kerbook in 2010, Mirren once again makes a significant impact, even in a film that was somewhat less favored in Gary Marshall's otherwise illustrious filmography. Her performance adds a layer of complexity to the narrative, offering a glimpse into the glamorous and cutthroat world of high fashion, which serves as a backdrop to Helen's journey of unexpected parenthood. In Raising Helen, Mirren's Dominique becomes a symbol of the larger-than-life personalities that populate the fashion industry. Her character's elegance and no-nonsense demeanor are the perfect foil to the film's more emotional and familial moments. While Raising Helen may not have achieved the same level of acclaim as some of Gary Marshall's other works, it's Mirren's presence that elevates it and makes it a noteworthy addition to her own impressive role collage. In the film, her character adds a touch of glamour and sophistication to its narrative, and her commanding presence is a stark contrast to the challenges faced by the main character. Mirren's performance is a standout in a film that may have had its share of critics, but benefits greatly from her presence, making it a unique and memorable entry in her career. Queen Elizabeth in The Queen. Perhaps one of the greatest performances by Helen Mirren is her captivating portrayal of Queen Elizabeth in the film The Queen. This role no doubt stands as a testament to Mirren's extraordinary talent, earning her both critical acclaim and an Academy Award. In The Queen, directed by Stephen Frears and released in 2006, the narrative unfolds against the backdrop of a pivotal moment in British history. The film centers on the aftermath of Princess Diana's tragic death in 1997, a moment that shook the world and sent ripples through the British monarchy. Amidst this emotional maelstrom, Helen Mirren steps into the regal shoes of Queen Elizabeth II, and it is nothing short of a cinematic triumph. Mirren's embodiment of Queen Elizabeth II is nothing short of mesmerizing. From her poised demeanor to her impeccable delivery of the Queen's nuanced emotions, Mirren brings this iconic monarch to life in a way that is both authentic and captivating. She captures the essence of a woman who has spent her entire life in the public eye, a figurehead of stoicism and duty, but who also grapples with her personal feelings and the shifting tides of public opinion. One of the film's most compelling aspects is the exploration of Queen Elizabeth II's response to Princess Diana's death. Mirren masterfully conveys the Queen's initial reluctance to address the public's outpouring of grief and her eventual realization of the need for a more compassionate response. The transformation is a testament to Mirren's ability to portray a character's growth and evolution on screen. Critics and audiences were unanimous in their praise for Helen Mirren's portrayal of Queen Elizabeth II. Her performance transcends mere impersonation. It's a deeply empathetic and nuanced depiction of a complex historical figure. Mirren's ability to humanize the Queen while maintaining her regal stature is a testament to her acting prowess. In the end, the role not only earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress, but also solidified her status as one of the most revered actresses of her generation. Her portrayal of Queen Elizabeth II is a captivating blend of artistry and authenticity, making it one of the standout moments in her illustrious career. Victoria Winslow in Red. In the midst of this high-octane action, Helen Mirren steps into the shoes of Victoria Winslow, Frank's former wet-work agent, and a character that showcases her versatility in a way few could have predicted. Mirren's portrayal of Victoria Winslow is nothing short of fantastic. With a backdrop of gunfire and espionage, she brings a level of sophistication and wit that adds depth to the ensemble. Her ability to seamlessly transition from roles in historical dramas to high-stakes action flicks is a testament to her extraordinary range as an actress. In fact, Helen Mirren's role in Red was so well received that she eagerly campaigned to reprise it 7 years later in Red 2. Her return to the franchise was met with enthusiasm from fans who couldn't get enough of her in the high-octane world of retired CIA operatives. The success of Red even prompted discussions about a third installment in the series back in 2013. The fact that such discussions were even on the table is a testament to the enduring appeal of Helen Mirren in these action-packed popcorn flicks. By every ramification, the Red series stands as a testament to the unexpected joys of cinema. Who would have thought that a retired, extremely dangerous crew comprising Hollywood icons would become a box office sensation? Yet it did, and much of that success is owed to Helen Mirren's captivating portrayal of Victoria Winslow. Her ability to shine in high-octane action films, coupled with her undeniable talent, cements her status as an actress who can excel in any genre and ensures the series remains a beloved part of her diverse filmography. Nyra in The Owls of Ga'Hoole. Nyra, with her striking red marks between her eyes, was a character who demanded more than just a visual presence. She required a voice that would breathe life into her cunning and ambition, and Helen Mirren delivered that in spades. Every word that escaped Nyra's beak was not merely dialogue. It was a symphony of emotions, an aria of ambition, and a ballad of wisdom. Helen's portrayal of Nyra was a testament to her ability to use her voice as a finely tuned instrument of acting and entertainment. But what made Nyra stand out from the characters Helen had portrayed before was the unique kind of poise that the character demanded. Her character wasn't just a dominating force, she was a commanding presence that left an indelible mark on every scene she graced. Helen's portrayal of Nyra was not about physicality or grand gestures. It was about the subtle nuances of her voice, the way she could convey power, cunning, and complexity through the medium of animation. Now let's talk about how the producers knew they had found the perfect fit in Helen Mirren for the role of Nyra. You see, casting Nyra wasn't just about finding a famous name. It was about finding an actor who could capture the essence of this enigmatic character. Helen's reputation as a versatile actress who could tackle a wide range of roles made her an appealing choice from the outset. When the auditions for Nyra began, it became clear that Helen Mirren had a deep understanding of the character. Her ability to convey the layers of Nyra's personality through her voice was nothing short of extraordinary. The producers saw in her the rare combination of talent and experience that could bring Naira to life in a way that would captivate audiences of all ages. And as the film unfolded, it became evident that their intuition had been spot on. Helen Mirren's portrayal of Naira not only dominated the scenes but also elevated the entire movie. She breathed life into an animated character, making Naira a memorable figure in the pantheon of animated cinema. Queen Elizabeth II in the audience. Helen Mirren starred in the 2013 production of The Audience, and it was simply mesmerizing. This gripping drama, set against the backdrop of Buckingham Palace, explores the weekly meetings, known as audiences, between Queen Elizabeth II and her prime ministers. The production made its debut in London's West End, gracing the stage at the renowned Gielgud Theatre. In The Audience, Helen Mirren undertook the monumental task of portraying Queen Elizabeth II. It's a role that demands not only exceptional acting prowess, but also a deep understanding of the complexities of a monarch's life. And true to her reputation as a master of her craft, Mirren delivered a performance that left audiences in awe. Mirren's portrayal of Queen Elizabeth II is nothing short of extraordinary. She effortlessly captures the regal bearing and dignified presence of the monarch. But it's not just the outward facade. Mirren delves into the character's inner world, providing insight into the challenges, joys, and sorrows that come with a lifetime of royal duty. The heart of The Audience lies in the interactions between Queen Elizabeth II and her prime ministers, a roll call of political giants spanning the decades. Mirren's ability to seamlessly transition between the different eras of her reign is a testament to her versatility as an actress. Whether she's engaging in witty banter with Winston Churchill or navigating the complexities of her relationship with Margaret Thatcher, Mirren's performance is a masterclass in character portrayal. The Audience garnered critical acclaim, with reviewers and audiences alike hailing Helen Mirren's performance as Queen Elizabeth II. Her ability to convey the weight of history, the challenges of leadership, and the personal moments that define a monarch's life is truly remarkable. It's a role that demands depth and nuance, and Mirren delivers on all fronts. In the end, Mirren's performance is a captivating journey into the world of a monarch who has witnessed decades of political change and personal growth. It's a role that showcases her versatility and cements her status as one of the greatest actresses of our time, both on the stage and on the screen. Dean Abigail in Monsters University. Despite being an animation, in the whimsical world of Pixar, where monsters under the bed become the stars of the show, the legendary Helen Mirren joined the cast, lending her formidable talents to the animated realm. Mirren took on the role of Dean Abigail Hardscrabble, a character that would send shivers down the spines of both the animated student body and the audience. As Dean Hardscrabble, Mirren embodied the essence of intimidation. She portrayed the chair of the university's esteemed Scarer program, a position that demanded respect and inspired fear in equal measure. With her dragon-like appearance and a presence that could send chills down your spine, Mirren's character was every bit as legendary as the university's reputation. What added a layer of intrigue to Dean Hardscrabble was her impressive backstory. She held the all-time scream record, a feat that only added to the aura of awe and dread surrounding her character. Mirren's performance made it all too easy to believe that this character had earned her place in the Monster Hall of Fame. One of the remarkable aspects of Monsters University was its ability to appeal to both children and adults in the audience. Mirren herself praised the film for its wide-ranging appeal. Her portrayal of Dean Hardscrabble added a touch of sophistication and gravitas to the animated world, proving that even in a realm of colorful monsters and playful antics, there's room for a character who really knows her business. Her involvement in Pixar's Monsters University was a delightful addition to her diverse repertoire. It showcased her ability to captivate audiences of all ages, even in the realm of animation, as well as adding a depth and a touch of gravitas to a character that would have been right at home in a monster's nightmare. It's a testament to her versatility as an actress, proving once again that Helen Mirren can shine in any role, no matter how unexpected or fantastical. Queenie Shaw in The Fate of the Furious. The Fast and Furious franchise. In the 8th installment of this iconic franchise, The Fate of the Furious, A new character roared onto the scene, and she was none other than the indomitable Helen Mirren, poised to leave her mark on the adrenaline-pumping saga. Picture the Shaw family, notorious for their intimidating presence, with Jason Statham and Luke Evans at the helm. Now imagine someone even more formidable, and you've got Helen Mirren, a vision of fierceness draped head to toe in cheetah print. Her entrance into the Fast and Furious universe was nothing short of electrifying. The story of how Mirren joined this high-octane ensemble is as intriguing as the franchise itself. It all began at a party where franchise lead Vin Diesel found himself face-to-face with the legendary actress. In a moment that would change the course of the film, Mirren expressed her desire to be a part of this action-packed world. The script for the next installment was already greenlit, but Diesel, ever the orchestrator of epic moments, decided to pull some strings. "She got written in," he declared with a grin, ensuring that Mirren's formidable presence would grace the franchise. While her role in Fast and Furious may have been brief, Helen Mirren made sure her impact was anything but. As the matriarch of the Shaw family, she exuded a level of authority and power that sent shockwaves through the film. Her character was a force to be reckoned with, and Mirren's portrayal left audiences in awe. In the midst of high-speed chases, explosive action, and gravity-defying stunts, Helen Mirren added a touch of class and gravitas to the Fast and Furious universe. Her cameo was a reminder that in this world of muscle cars and adrenaline rushes, there's always room for an acting legend to make her formidable presence known. Helen Mirren's appearance in the 8th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise was a moment of cinematic magic. Her journey from a chance encounter at a party to becoming an integral part of this adrenaline-fueled saga is a testament to the allure of the franchise. Mirren's role, however brief, left an indelible mark, proving once again that in the world of Fast and Furious, unexpected surprises are part of the thrilling package. Click this video to watch the sad death of another epic personality in Hollywood, Donna Douglas. Without a doubt, Hollywood has its secrets. In the same vein, Hollywood stars have their own secret that they would rather have taken to the grave. However, some of these secrets found their way out and would leave even the most loyal of fans with their jaws open in pure shock and even terror. Some of these Hollywood stars had some twisted fetishes and pleasures that they enjoyed in the privacy of their own homes or secret places. Some of them will shock you, others will send shivers down your spine. On the 16th of February 1945, in the heart of New York City's illustrious theater district, a relatively unknown Vera Ellen took to the stage of the Music Box Theater, premiering in Laughing Room Only. Little did the audience know they were witnessing the ascent of one of Hollywood's most gifted dancers, a woman whose name would become synonymous with unparalleled grace and agility in the annals of dance and cinema. Yet beneath the spotlight and the applause, the story of Vera Ellen remains a mosaic of hidden truths and lesser-known facts, obscured by the shadow of her more celebrated peers. As she pirouetted through the golden age of Hollywood, Vera Ellen not only etched her legacy in the realms of dance and film, but also left behind a trail of intrigue and mysteries, ripe for discovery. Today we delve into the enigmatic world of Vera Ellen, unearthing 8 facts that shed light on the life of a star who dazzled on screen, but whose true story remains as captivating as her performances. A prodigy in motion. In the vast expanse of America's heartland, amidst the hustle and bustle of Cincinnati, Ohio, a future star was quietly taking her first steps towards an extraordinary journey. Born Vera Ellen Westmeyer Rowe on February 16, 1921, she was destined to become one of Hollywood's most celebrated dancers, her name synonymous with grace, beauty, and unmatched talent. Yet the path from a modest Midwestern upbringing to the glitz and glamour of Hollywood was fraught with challenges, determination, and a relentless pursuit of perfection. From an early age, Vera Ellen displayed an innate passion for dance, a passion that her parents, Martin and Alma Rowe, would nurture, leading her to embark on a journey that would take her far from the familiar streets of Cincinnati. By the tender age of 10, Vera Ellen was already making a name for herself, winning local dance competitions and captivating audiences with her natural talent and poise. Her dedication and hard work paid off when she was accepted into the prestigious Hessler Dance Studio in Cincinnati, a testament to her budding talent and the first significant step in her journey to stardom. The years at Hessler were formative for Vera Ellen, honing her skills in a variety of dance styles, from ballet to tap and beyond. It was here that she began to develop the distinctive style that would later become her hallmark in Hollywood. However, Vera Ellen's ambitions extended far beyond the confines of Cincinnati. Driven by a dream to see her name in lights, she made the bold decision to leave home and head to New York City, the epicenter of entertainment, and a place where she believed her dreams could become a reality. Arriving in New York at the age of 18, Vera Ellen's determination quickly paid dividends. She made her Broadway debut in Very Warm for May in 1939, a performance that, while modest, marked the beginning of her ascent in the world of dance and theater. But it was her role in the Broadway hit By Jupiter in 1942 that truly showcased her talents to a wider audience, earning her critical acclaim and setting the stage for her transition from Broadway to the silver screen. The voice that rarely was heard. In an industry where the spoken word often carries as much weight as the physical expression, Vera Ellen's career stands as a testament to the power of movement over voice. Despite her prominence on the silver screen during Hollywood's golden era, her voice was a rare gem, seldom heard in her films. This chapter delves into the enigma of Vera Ellen's vocal silence, exploring the artistic and personal nuances that contributed to this unique aspect of her career. Vera Ellen's transition from Broadway to Hollywood in the early 1940s marked the beginning of a cinematic journey defined by dazzling dance sequences and visual spectacle. However, unlike many of her contemporaries who showcased their talents through both song and dance, Vera Ellen's voice was notably absent from her most iconic performances. This was not due to a lack of talent or versatility, but rather a reflection of the era's cinematic trends and the specific roles she embodied. One of the pivotal moments in this narrative occurred during the production of White Christmas in 1954, a film that remains a beloved classic to this day. Despite being a musical, Vera Ellen's singing parts were dubbed by other artists, a common practice at the time for actors whose vocal strengths were deemed less than their co-stars. This decision by the filmmakers was not a reflection on her abilities, but rather a strategic choice to match the musical style of the film. The reasons behind the dubbing of Vera Ellen's voice in her musical films are multifaceted. Firstly, the studio system often prioritized a uniform sound that could be easily marketed, leading to the employment of professional singers to dub the voices of actors. Secondly, Vera Ellen's primary identity in Hollywood was that of a dancer, and her roles were crafted to highlight her extraordinary talents in ballet, tap, and jazz, often sidelining her vocal performance. Despite the rarity of her voice in films, Vera Ellen's silence speaks volumes about her dedication to her craft. She understood that her strength lay in her ability to convey emotion, narrative, and character through movement. Her performances transcended the need for vocal expression, allowing audiences to focus on the visual poetry of her dance. The decision to let her dance do the talking did not diminish Vera Ellen's impact on Hollywood or her audience. Instead, it solidified her status as a dance icon, a woman whose physical articulation was so powerful that it rendered words unnecessary. Her legacy, therefore, is not one of silence, but of a voice expressed through the universal language of dance, resonating with audiences even in the absence of spoken words. Vera Ellen's choice to focus on dance over voice in her film career is a reminder of the diverse forms of expression in the arts. It challenges the conventional norms of musical cinema and highlights the importance of embracing one's strengths. In Vera Ellen's case, her voice, though rarely heard, was profoundly felt in every step, leap, and twirl, leaving an indelible mark on the history of film and dance. A pioneer of dance styles, Vera Ellen's impact on the dance world transcends her performances. She was instrumental in introducing and popularizing a variety of dance styles to Hollywood's silver screen. Her career, blossoming in the 1940s and extending through the 1950s, was marked by a series of performances that not only showcased her versatility as a dancer, but also her role as a pioneer in the integration of diverse dance forms into cinema. In 1945, Vera Ellen made her Hollywood debut in Wonder Man, a film that allowed her to showcase a range of dance styles from ballet to ballroom. However, it was her subsequent roles that firmly established her as a trailblazer in dance. Her performance in On the Town, 1949, alongside Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra, is particularly notable. In this film, Vera Ellen brought a blend of balletic grace and modern dance energy to the big screen, contributing to one of the first movie musicals to be shot on location in New York City. This approach not only highlighted her dance skills, but also demonstrated how dance could be integrated into the narrative, enhancing the realism and dynamism of the film. Another landmark in her career was The Belle of New York, 1952, where she starred opposite Fred Astaire. In this film, Vera Ellen and Astaire performed a series of complex dance numbers that incorporated elements of jazz and tap, showcasing her ability to adapt and excel across different dance genres. Their performance in the Seeing's Believing number is often cited as a masterpiece of cinematic dance, featuring a blend of technical precision and effortless charm that has become emblematic of Vera Ellen's legacy. Beyond her versatility, Vera Ellen was known for her rigorous dedication to her craft. Her commitment to perfection and her relentless pursuit of innovation in dance left a lasting impact on her peers and the generations that followed. Dancers and choreographers in Hollywood and beyond have cited her influence in their work, noting her contributions to the evolution of dance and film. Vera Ellen's pioneering role in dance was not limited to her on-screen performances. Behind the scenes, she worked closely with choreographers, including the legendary Robert Alton, to craft sequences that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in film dance. Her collaboration with these choreographers not only highlighted her skills, but also her creative vision, making her an integral part of the choreographic process. Through her films, Vera Ellen introduced audiences worldwide to a fusion of dance styles, from the classical elegance of ballet to the vibrant rhythms of jazz and tap. Her work helped to broaden the scope of dance in cinema, making it more accessible and engaging for audiences and inspiring a new generation of dancers and choreographers. Vera Ellen's contributions to dance in Hollywood were marked by a series of firsts. She was among the first to blend classical ballet with modern dance in a cinematic context, and her performances helped to elevate dance from mere entertainment to an essential storytelling tool in film. Her legacy, therefore, is not just in the roles she played, but in her enduring influence on the art of dance in cinema, an influence that continues to resonate in the industry today. The secret struggles. One of the most significant struggles Vera Ellen faced was her battle with anorexia nervosa, a disorder scarcely recognized or understood during her time. The pressures of maintaining a dancer's physique, combined with the rigorous demands of her profession and the aesthetic standards of the era, exacerbated her condition. By the 1950s, during the zenith of her career, the effects of her eating disorder became more visible, prompting concern and speculation among audiences and peers alike. Yet, the lack of awareness and conversation around mental health and eating disorders during that period meant Vera Ellen faced her challenges with little support or understanding from the broader public and industry. Beyond her health struggles, Vera Ellen's life was touched by deep personal loss. Her marriage to Robert Hightower ended in divorce, and she later married wealthy businessman Victor Rothschild. Though her second marriage brought some stability, it was marred by tragedy with the loss of their daughter, Victoria Ellen, to sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, in 1963. This devastating event plunged Vera Ellen into profound grief, impacting her both personally and professionally as she withdrew further from the Hollywood scene. As Vera Ellen contended with her personal demons, her professional life also faced challenges. The transition from the golden age of musical cinema to new entertainment forms saw a decline in the demand for the kind of dance-centric films that had been her forte. The changing landscape of Hollywood, combined with her health and personal issues, led to a sense of professional isolation, despite her significant contributions to the industry. Despite these struggles, Vera Ellen's legacy in dance and film remains undisputed. Her technical proficiency, combined with a profound expressive capability, set her apart as one of the era's most talented performers. However, the silence around her personal battles during her lifetime and the years following her death on August 30th, 1981, underscores the often overlooked human aspect behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood stardom. The costume mystery. Vera Ellen's career in Hollywood was as much a visual feast as it was a showcase of talent, with her costumes playing a pivotal role in her on-screen persona. Known for her slender frame and elegant neck, a particular mystery that has fascinated fans and historians alike revolves around her wardrobe choices in later films, notably in the iconic White Christmas, 1954. Throughout this film and subsequent appearances, Vera Ellen was consistently seen wearing high-necked dresses and gowns, a choice that sparked speculation and rumors about the reasons behind such a distinctive style. Some have suggested that this was due to the actress's desire to conceal a prematurely aging neck, a physical trait that she was purportedly self-conscious about. This theory was further fueled by whispers of her battle with anorexia, which some believed had taken a toll on her physical appearance, compelling her to hide her neck. However, contrary to the rumors, those close to Vera Ellen and costume designers who worked with her have offered alternative explanations, emphasizing her love for fashion and her active involvement in the selection and design of her costumes. Her preference for high-necked attire was, by some accounts, a stylistic choice, reflective of her taste and the elegance she brought to her roles. Vera Ellen's collaboration with renowned costume designers, including Edith Head, who worked on White Christmas, suggests a mutual desire to create looks that were both flattering and functional, allowing her the freedom to perform complex dance routines without constraint. The speculation surrounding Vera Ellen's costume choices underscores the broader fascination with her life and career, blending the on-screen glamour with the off-screen mysteries. While the truth behind the high-necked costume mystery remains a topic of debate, it highlights the enduring interest in Vera Ellen's legacy, not just as a dancer and actress, but as a fashion icon of her time. The Lost Love. Vera Ellen's personal life, much like the roles she embodied with grace and vivacity on screen, was intertwined with profound love stories marked by both their depth and their eventual heartache. Among these, her marriage to fellow dancer Robert Hightower in 1941 stands as a poignant chapter in her life, embodying a union of shared dreams and aspirations within the dance world. This relationship, blossoming from their mutual passion for dance, promised a partnership of both personal and professional fulfillment. Their marriage, however, unfolded during a time when Vera Ellen's career was on a precipitous ascent. By the mid-1940s, particularly after her standout performances in On the Town, 1949, and her subsequent rise in Hollywood, the demands of fame began to exert pressure on their relationship. The couple navigated the challenges that came with Vera Ellen's increasing commitments and public scrutiny, a journey that tested the resilience of their bond. In 1945, amidst the glittering yet relentless pace of Hollywood, Vera Ellen and Robert Hightower's marriage faced its ultimate test. The year marked a turning point, not just in Vera Ellen's career, but in her personal life as well. Despite their efforts to sustain their relationship, the couple parted ways, their divorce finalizing in a time when Vera Ellen's star was shining its brightest. This period was a testament to the often unseen sacrifices behind the camera, where personal relationships were sometimes collateral in the pursuit of cinematic greatness. The end of her marriage to Hightower was a loss that Vera Ellen felt deeply, a chapter that closed with lingering questions about what might have been. Yet, her capacity to find love anew was evident in her subsequent marriage to Victor Rothschild in 1954. This relationship offered a semblance of stability and a new beginning, highlighting Vera Ellen's resilience and her enduring hope for personal happiness beyond the shadows of her lost love. However, tragedy struck again with the untimely death of her daughter with Rothschild, a devastating blow that left an indelible mark on Vera Ellen's life. The loss of her child was a sorrow that no acclaim or applause could mollify, a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that lay beneath the surface of her public persona. Hollywood's best-kept secret. In the late 1940s, specifically around 1949, following her acclaimed performance in On the Town, Vera Ellen quietly embarked on a journey that would see her influencing the dance community behind the scenes. Known for her on-screen partnerships with icons like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, Vera Ellen's public persona was synonymous with her physical prowess and unmatched grace. However, beyond the camera's gaze, she was instrumental in fostering talent and advocating for the arts, particularly ballet, in a period when popular culture was rapidly evolving. Vera Ellen's passion for dance extended beyond her own career aspirations. She was deeply committed to the education and promotion of dance as an art form. Utilizing her resources and connections within the industry, she played a pivotal role in the establishment of scholarship programs aimed at nurturing young talent. While specific names and dates of these programs are not widely documented, her involvement in philanthropic efforts within the arts community during the early 1950s marked a significant yet understated chapter of her life. Moreover, Vera Ellen's influence was felt in the push for incorporating more intricate and technically demanding dance sequences in film, challenging both performers and choreographers to elevate the standard of dance in cinema. Her advocacy for dance as a serious and respected art form contributed to a gradual shift in how dance was perceived in Hollywood and beyond. Despite her contributions, Vera Ellen's efforts in this arena remained largely unrecognized, overshadowed by her on-screen achievements and personal struggles. It wasn't until years after her retirement from the screen and subsequent passing on August 30th, 1981, that the depth of her impact began to be fully appreciated. The Dancer's Last Stand. Vera Ellen's final notable appearance on the big screen in Let's Be Happy, 1957, marked a poignant conclusion to a dazzling career that had spanned over 2 decades. By this time, Vera Ellen had established herself as one of the premier dancers of Hollywood's golden age, known for her versatility and technical skill. Let's Be Happy, a Technicolor musical that showcased Vera Ellen's dancing prowess, served as a fitting farewell to a woman who had dedicated her life to the art of dance. This film, while not as commercially successful or critically acclaimed as her earlier works, offered audiences one last opportunity to witness Vera Ellen's talent. Despite the changing dynamics of Hollywood and the evolving tastes of cinema audiences, Vera Ellen's performance in Let's Be Happy was a testament to her enduring dedication to her craft. After Let's Be Happy, Vera Ellen gradually retreated from the public eye. The shift away from musicals and cinema, combined with personal challenges, led her to make the decision to step back from her career in Hollywood. She focused instead on her personal life and her health, which had been compromised by her struggles with anorexia and the loss of her daughter. Vera Ellen's legacy, however, remained undiminished. Her influence on the world of dance and cinema continues to be celebrated by fans and historians alike. Her contributions to the art of dance in film are remembered for their innovation, beauty, and the sheer joy they brought to audiences around the world. In the luminous yet shadowy world of Hollywood, where stars shine bright against the night sky, the story of Karen Black unfolds like a captivating screenplay filled with twists and turns, triumphs and trials. Known for her piercing gaze and unparalleled versatility, Karen Black carved a niche for herself in an era that redefined cinema. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of her celebrated career lay a tapestry of untold stories, hidden struggles, and enigmatic truths that fans never knew. Karen Black's journey from an aspiring actress to a cinematic icon of the 70s is a testament to her indomitable spirit and raw talent. But what lies beyond the accolades and the spotlight? From her groundbreaking performances that challenged the norms of her time to her ventures into the realms of writing and music, Karen's life was a mosaic of creativity and complexity. As we peel back the layers of her storied career, we uncover the method behind her magic, revealing the depth of her dedication to her craft. Yet Karen's life was not without its shadows. Personal battles fought away from the public eye, and her role as a mentor and advocate for the arts painted a picture of a woman whose influence extended far beyond the silver screen. A Star is Born. In the heartland of America, in the small town of Park Ridge, Illinois, a star was born on July 1st, 1939. Karen Blanche Ziegler, who would later be known to the world as Karen Black, entered life with the kind of spark that presaged her future luminosity in the world of cinema. Raised in a household where creativity was the currency, her mother, a writer of several award-winning children's novels, and her father, a businessman with a penchant for storytelling, imbued in Karen a deep love for the arts from a tender age. Karen's journey to stardom was not a straight path, but a winding road filled with dreams, determination, and a relentless pursuit of expression. Her early years were marked by a sense of adventure and a quest for understanding the human condition, themes that would later permeate her most memorable performances. The family's move to Chicago when Karen was young opened new vistas of opportunity, exposing her to the vibrant theater scene that thrived in the city's heart. The stage became Karen's first love and battleground, where she honed her craft and learned the ropes of acting. Her education at the Goodman Theater School of Drama at the Art Institute of Chicago was not just an academic pursuit, it was a rite of passage. Here, Karen delved into the depths of character development and the nuances of performance, laying the foundation for a career that would defy conventions and challenge perceptions. Yet, the call of Hollywood was irresistible. In the early 1960s, with a heart full of dreams and a suitcase packed with ambition, Karen made the pilgrimage west, joining the ranks of hopefuls in the city of angels. Los Angeles was a world away from the theaters of Chicago, a place where dreams were both made and shattered. Karen's early days in Hollywood were a test of her resolve, a period of auditions, rejections, and small parts that tested the limits of her perseverance. But Karen Black was not one to be easily dissuaded. Her breakthrough came in a way that seemed almost fated, a serendipitous alignment of talent, timing, and opportunity. It was her role in Francis Ford Coppola's You're a Big Boy Now, 1966, that first turned heads, but it was the seminal year of 1969 that would forever change her trajectory. Her roles in Easy Rider, alongside Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, and as Rayette DePesto in 5 Easy Pieces opposite Jack Nicholson, showcased her extraordinary range and raw emotional depth, earning her critical acclaim and a place in the pantheon of new Hollywood icons. The breakthrough. The late 1960s and early 1970s marked a seismic shift in American cinema, a period now revered as the New Hollywood era. It was a time when the film industry underwent a radical transformation, driven by a new generation of filmmakers and actors who dared to push the boundaries of storytelling, character development, and cinematic art. Amidst this cultural revolution, Karen Black emerged as a defining figure, her breakthrough performances resonating with both the zeitgeist of the times and the evolving tastes of the audience. Karen's role in 5 Easy Pieces, 1970, a film that has since become emblematic of the New Hollywood movement, was a career-defining moment. Portraying Rayette DePesto, a waitress who embodies the complexities of love, longing, and societal displacement, Karen delivered a performance that was both heart-wrenching and deeply human. Her ability to convey the subtleties of emotion and vulnerability earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, cementing her status as one of the era's most talented and versatile actors. This period of Karen's career was marked by a series of roles that showcased her range and depth as an actress. In The Great Gatsby, 1974, she took on the role of Myrtle Wilson, bringing to life the tragic figure with a performance that was both nuanced and powerful. Her portrayal of Myrtle's desperation and doomed aspirations highlighted Karen's skill in capturing the essence of complex characters, further establishing her as a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood. Another significant milestone came with her role in Airport 1975, where Karen played the stewardess Nancy Pryor. In a film that combined disaster movie tropes with human drama, Karen's performance stood out, offering a glimpse into her ability to anchor a film with her presence and emotional depth. This role, among others, demonstrated her versatility and helped solidify her reputation as one of the most reliable and compelling actresses of her time. The method behind the magic. Karen Black's approach to her craft was as unique as the characters she brought to life on screen. Rooted in the method acting technique, her preparation for roles went beyond mere memorization of lines or understanding the script. Karen delved deep into the psyche of her characters, seeking to inhabit their world fully and bring an authenticity to her performances that resonated with audiences and critics alike. Her dedication to the method was evident in the way she approached each role, often spending weeks or even months researching and immersing herself in the character's background, motivations, and emotional landscape. This intense preparation process allowed Karen to deliver performances that were not only compelling, but also deeply human, capturing the complexities and nuances of the characters she portrayed. One of the most striking examples of Karen's method acting came with her role in 5 Easy Pieces. To embody Rayette, a character whose dreams and disappointments are palpable throughout the film, Karen spent time in diners, observing and interacting with waitresses to capture the essence of her character's life. Her commitment to authenticity paid off, resulting in a performance that was both powerful and poignant, earning her critical acclaim and an Academy Award nomination. Karen's ability to transform herself for her roles was not limited to dramatic parts. In Trilogy of Terror, 1975, a made-for-television anthology horror film, she showcased her versatility by playing 4 distinct characters, including a tormented college student and a woman terrorized by a Zuni fetish doll. Her performances in this film highlighted her skill in navigating a range of emotions and genres, from terror to despair, further cementing her status as a versatile and talented actress. Behind the magic of Karen Black's performances was a relentless pursuit of truth in her portrayal of characters. Whether it was through meticulous research, physical transformation, or emotional immersion, Karen's method acting technique was a testament to her dedication to her craft and her desire to connect with audiences on a profound level. Her legacy as an actress is not only defined by the roles she played, but also by the depth and authenticity she brought to each character, leaving an indelible mark on the world of cinema. Hidden talents. Karen Black's artistry extended far beyond the silver screen, revealing a woman of multifaceted talents and interests. While audiences around the world knew her as a captivating actress, many were unaware of the depth of her creativity, which flowed through her veins like an unending river, touching the shores of music, writing, and more. Music was one of Karen's most profound hidden talents. With a voice as distinctive as her on-screen presence, she ventured into the world of songwriting and singing with a passion that mirrored her approach to acting. Her album, released in the early 1980s, showcased not just her vocal abilities but also her skill as a songwriter. The songs, imbued with introspective lyrics and melodic tunes, offered listeners a glimpse into the inner world of an artist who found solace and expression in the rhythm and rhymes of music. Karen's literary talents were another aspect of her creative persona that remained largely out of the public eye. A prolific writer, she penned several screenplays and stories, each reflecting her keen observations of the human condition and her deep understanding of emotional complexities. Her writing, much like her performances, was a canvas where she explored themes of love, loss, and the intricacies of human relationships. In addition to her musical and literary endeavors, Karen had a keen interest in photography and painting, mediums through which she captured the beauty and absurdity of the world around her. Her photographs and artworks, though seldom exhibited, were as expressive and evocative as her roles on screen, marked by a unique perspective that was unmistakably Karen. Karen Black's hidden talents were a testament to her boundless creativity and her relentless pursuit of artistic expression. Whether through the chords of a song, the words on a page, or the strokes of a brush, she communicated with a depth and sincerity that resonated with those who had the privilege of experiencing her art. Her legacy, enriched by these diverse talents, stands as a reminder of the profound impact a truly creative spirit can have on the world. The cult icon. Karen Black's journey through Hollywood's ever-changing landscape solidified her status not just as a versatile actress, but as a cult icon whose work resonated deeply within the realms of independent cinema and genre films. Her fearless choice of roles and her unparalleled ability to breathe life into every character she portrayed endeared her to a dedicated fan base that revered her as much for her unconventional choices as for her undeniable talent. The 1970s and 1980s saw Karen embracing roles in films that would later be celebrated as cult classics, further cementing her legacy as an icon of alternative cinema. Her appearance in Trilogy of Terror, 1975, a horror anthology television movie, showcased her exceptional range and ability to captivate audiences with her performance in 3 distinct roles, particularly as the tormented protagonist in the segment featuring the now infamous Zuni fetish doll. This role, among others, contributed to her lasting legacy in the horror genre, making her a beloved figure among horror enthusiasts. Karen's work in Burnt Offerings, 1976, further exemplified her status as a cult icon. In this haunted house thriller, her portrayal of a wife and mother slowly succumbing to the malevolent forces of her family's new home highlighted her skill in navigating the psychological depths of her characters, earning the film a special place in the hearts of horror aficionados. Beyond horror, Karen's roles in independent films and her collaborations with pioneering directors of the time played a significant role in her cult iconography. Her ability to seamlessly transition between genres, from drama to horror to comedy, showcased her versatility and fearless approach to her craft. This adaptability made her a favorite among directors looking for an actress who could bring complexity and authenticity to challenging roles. Personal struggles, public battles. Karen Black's luminous career and diverse artistic pursuits were often shadowed by personal struggles and public battles that tested her resilience and fortitude. Despite the challenges she faced, Karen's spirit remained unbroken, exemplifying her strength and determination to overcome adversity. One of the most significant struggles in Karen's life was her battle with health issues that emerged later in her career. In 2010, Karen was diagnosed with ampullary cancer, a rare form of cancer that affects the bile duct. The diagnosis marked the beginning of a difficult journey, as Karen underwent several medical treatments, including surgery and chemotherapy, in an effort to combat the disease. Her fight against cancer was not only a personal struggle, but also a public battle, as she shared her experiences with her fans and the world, showcasing her vulnerability and humanity. Karen's health battle took a toll on her professionally, as it limited her ability to work and take on new projects. However, her determination to continue acting and her passion for the arts never waned. Even during her treatment, Karen sought to remain active in the creative community, participating in projects as much as her health would allow and continuing to inspire those around her with her resilience. In addition to her health struggles, Karen faced financial difficulties that were exacerbated by her medical expenses. In 2013, her family launched a crowdfunding campaign to help cover the costs of her treatment, revealing the extent of her financial strain. The campaign received an outpouring of support from fans and the film community, highlighting the deep affection and respect that many held for Karen. The mentor. Beyond her roles as an actress, Karen embraced the role of mentor with a generosity and passion that mirrored her approach to her craft. Her dedication to nurturing new talent was a testament to her belief in the transformative power of art and the importance of guidance and support in the creative journey. Karen's mentorship extended across various facets of filmmaking, from acting to writing and directing. She was known for her willingness to share her experiences, offering insights gleaned from decades in a challenging industry. Her advice was not just about the technicalities of acting or the nuances of character development. It was also about navigating the complexities of the film industry, maintaining artistic integrity, and the importance of resilience. One of Karen's most impactful contributions as a mentor was her involvement in workshops and acting classes. Here, she engaged with aspiring actors, providing them with a safe space to explore their abilities and push their boundaries. Karen's teaching style was immersive and hands-on, encouraging students to delve deep into their characters and embrace their vulnerabilities. She believed that true artistry in acting came from a place of honesty and emotional truth, and she guided her students in their pursuit of these ideals. Beyond formal settings, Karen's mentorship was also evident in her everyday interactions with young filmmakers and actors. She was known for her openness and approachability, often taking the time to engage in meaningful conversations with those seeking her advice. Her encouragement and support could be a turning point for many, offering them the confidence to pursue their dreams in an industry that could often seem impenetrable. Karen's impact as a mentor went beyond the technical aspects of filmmaking. She inspired her mentees to approach their art with a sense of purpose and a deep respect for the storytelling process. She emphasized the importance of empathy and emotional intelligence in creating work that resonated with audiences. Her guidance helped shape a new generation of artists, imbuing them with a sense of responsibility to their craft and to the stories they chose to tell. Moreover, Karen's mentorship reflected her broader vision for the film industry, a community where collaboration and mutual support were foundational values. She envisioned a space where creativity was nurtured and diverse voices were celebrated, paving the way for a more inclusive and dynamic cinematic landscape. An unconventional style. Karen Black's style was a vivid reflection of her era's cultural shifts, embodying the spirit of the 1960s and 70s with a distinctive flair that set her apart in Hollywood's fashion landscape. Her approach to fashion was as eclectic and daring as the roles she chose, making her a style icon who defied the conventional norms of celebrity dressing. In the 1970s, when Black's career was at its zenith, fashion was undergoing a radical transformation. The decade celebrated individuality and self-expression with influences ranging from the bohemian to the disco. Karen navigated these trends with an innate sense of style that was both of the moment and timeless. She was often seen in maxi dresses, a staple of 70s fashion, which she styled with her unique twist, incorporating bold prints and unconventional accessories that highlighted her artistic sensibility. Karen's public appearances were marked by her preference for outfits that blended glamour with a touch of the avant-garde. At the 46th Academy Awards in 1974, where she was nominated for her performance in The Great Gatsby, Karen epitomized 70s chic in a black halter neck gown. The simplicity of the dress was offset by her dramatic makeup and hairstyle, showcasing her ability to merge classic Hollywood elegance with the era's more experimental trends. Off the red carpet, Karen's personal style was equally compelling. She was known for her love of vintage clothing, often spotted in secondhand stores searching for unique pieces that she would incorporate into her everyday wardrobe. This penchant for vintage was not just a fashion statement, but a reflection of her broader artistic and environmental values, predating the contemporary movement towards sustainable fashion. Karen's influence on fashion extended beyond her personal style. She was a muse to several designers of the time who were drawn to her unconventional beauty and fearless approach to fashion. Her collaborations with these designers often resulted in groundbreaking looks that captured the imagination of the public and the fashion industry alike. Karen Black's unconventional style was more than just a facet of her public persona. It was an integral part of her identity as an artist and individual. Through her fashion choices, she communicated a sense of freedom, creativity, and defiance that resonated with the cultural zeitgeist of her time and continues to inspire today. The final act. Karen Black's career spanned over 5 decades, during which she became an emblem of versatility and resilience in the entertainment industry. Her final years, however, were marked by a courageous battle with cancer that she faced with the same strength and dignity that characterized her life and work. In 2010, Karen was diagnosed with ampullary cancer, leading to an extensive medical battle that included surgery and chemotherapy. Despite the severity of her condition, she continued to work, showcasing her unwavering dedication to her craft. One of her last film projects was She Loves Me Not, 2013, a testament to her enduring talent and commitment to acting even in the face of adversity. Karen's health struggles became public in 2013 when her husband, Stephen Eckleberry, launched a crowdfunding campaign to help cover the costs of her medical treatments. The campaign highlighted not only the financial challenges faced by many veteran actors, but also the outpouring of support from fans and the film community. This gesture underscored the impact Karen had on her audience and peers, reflecting the deep affection and respect she garnered throughout her career. On August 8, 2013, Karen Black passed away at the age of 74. Her death was mourned by many who had been touched by her performances, her spirit, and her courage. Tributes poured in from across the industry, with colleagues, critics, and fans alike celebrating her contributions to cinema and her role as a trailblazer for women in Hollywood. Karen's legacy is preserved not only through her memorable performances in films like 5 Easy Pieces, The Great Gatsby, and Nashville, but also through her influence on independent cinema and her advocacy for creative expression. She remains a figure of inspiration for her ability to navigate the complexities of fame and personal challenges with grace. Her final act, marked by both personal struggle and professional achievements, serves as a poignant reminder of the human behind the celebrity. Karen Black's story is one of talent, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of an artist who continued to inspire until the very end.
In the Golden Age era of Hollywood, there was less tolerance for affairs and illegitimate children. It could be the end of your career as an actor, and it's like putting a noose over your life socially. So imagine being born as an illegitimate child here. Some were terminated before they even got a chance to breathe. Others were condemned and forced to live in shame. But their stories would break your heart into a million pieces.
Things like that can only happen in a country like America.
Judy Lewis. Now, back in the day, Loretta Young was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Beautiful, talented, and very much in the public eye. But here's where things take a twist. Loretta had a secret affair with Clark Gable, who was also a massive Hollywood star, best known as Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind. At the time, though, both of them were involved with other people. Clark was married, and Loretta had her image to protect. So when Loretta ended up pregnant, this was a huge problem, especially in an era where a public out-of-wedlock pregnancy could have destroyed her career. They had to keep the pregnancy a secret. It was already a scandal waiting to happen. So, to keep the scandal under wraps, Loretta did what a lot of actresses of that time did. She disappeared. She took a vacation from Hollywood, went away for months, and gave birth in secret in 1935. No paparazzi, no media frenzy. She had everything planned out to the last detail, even hiding the pregnancy from most of the people closest to her. It was the perfect plan. But here's where it gets interesting. When she eventually returned to Hollywood, she didn't just reveal that she had a baby. No, she made it seem like she had adopted this little girl, Judy, a year later. Imagine that. A mother adopting her own child and keeping it a secret from nearly everyone, including the child herself. That's the kind of secrecy that dominated the golden age of Hollywood. For most of Judy's childhood, she had no idea who her real parents were. She grew up believing that Loretta was just her adoptive mother. But before then, Lewis went through hell. After she was born, Loretta Young didn't bring her daughter home right away. Instead, Judy spent the first 19 months of her life in various hideaways and orphanages. Loretta was still trying to keep the whole situation under wraps. Eventually, she adopted Judy, which, as we know now, was just part of her plan to conceal the truth about Judy's parentage. When Judy was around 4 years old, Loretta married a radio producer named Tom Lewis. That's when Judy took his last name, becoming Judy Lewis. Loretta and Tom had 2 more kids together, 2 sons, Christopher and Peter. So now Judy's growing up in this family and she's finally happy and at peace, but there's one small problem. She looks a lot like Clark Gable, especially those famous ears of his that stuck out. It was a resemblance that was hard to ignore. But you would not believe what her mother, Loretta, did next. She actually had Judy undergo a painful surgery to pin her ears back up when she was just 7 years old. It was yet another attempt to hide the truth about who Judy's real father was. Can you imagine that? Going through surgery just to keep up appearances? Then, when Judy was about 15, her mother made another film with Clark Gable called Key to the City. During that time, Gable came over to visit Loretta's house, and that was the one and only time Judy ever met him. He asked her a few questions about her life, then kissed her on the forehead when he left. The kicker? Judy had no idea that Gable was her biological father. He was just this famous guy who stopped by for a brief visit. As Judy got older, she started to feel the weight of all the secrecy. She talked about how isolated and confused she felt growing up, like something was always off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She didn't feel fully connected to her family, and it's no wonder why. She was living in this web of lies and half-truths that shaped her entire childhood. It must have been incredibly tough knowing something was wrong but not being able to understand what it was until much later in life. Judy finally learned the truth in the most heartbreaking way possible as an adult. She found out that the woman who raised her was actually her biological mother, and her father was none other than Clark Gable, the biggest heartthrob of his time. Loretta kept this secret for so long, and when Judy finally confronted her, Loretta admitted it, but still refused to publicly acknowledge the truth. Can you imagine the pain Judy must have felt knowing her whole life had been a lie? She spent much of her adulthood grappling with feelings of abandonment and betrayal, constantly wondering why her mother couldn't just be honest with her. To make matters worse, Clark Gable never had any real involvement in Judy's life. He didn't acknowledge her, and he never played a fatherly role. This had to be tough for Judy, growing up in the shadow of 2 Hollywood legends but never fully knowing or being accepted by them. So, for Judy, the scandal haunted her throughout her life. She wrote a memoir about it later, expressing how much the secrecy and lies affected her. She carried that burden, always wondering why she wasn't publicly acknowledged and why her mother chose to keep such a vital part of her identity hidden. It's the kind of story that really makes you feel for the people who lived behind the glittering Hollywood curtain, where image was everything and human emotions were often sacrificed for the sake of stardom. Robertino Rossellini. It all started back in 1949. Ingrid Bergman was already one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, but she wasn't just about fame. She genuinely admired good filmmaking. Two films by Italian director Roberto Rossellini had really caught her attention, and instead of just being content with watching from afar, Bergman decided to write him a letter. In this letter, she expressed how much she loved his work and casually suggested they collaborate on a film. And, well, let's just say things escalated from there. Rossellini was quick to cast Bergman in his next project, Stromboli, and this is where the sparks really started to fly. During the production of the film, Bergman and Rossellini began an affair. Now, keep in mind, Bergman was still married to Petter Lindstrom at the time, but the chemistry between her and Rossellini was undeniable, and soon enough, it turned into something much more serious. And as you might already know by now, back in the 1950s, this wasn't just gossip. It was a full-blown scandal. Hollywood had a very polished image to uphold, and having one of their biggest stars involved in an extramarital affair was a no-no. But soon enough, it got 10 times worse when Ingrid got pregnant as a result of her affair and eventually gave birth to a son named Robertino Rossellini in 1950. Now, as you can imagine, this was a huge deal, and not in a good way. This sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. People were not only shocked that she had a child out of wedlock, but the affair itself felt like a betrayal to her public image. Bergman went from being one of the most beloved actresses in the world to a symbol of moral outrage almost overnight. She was condemned by Hollywood, criticized by the press, and even denounced on the floor of the U.S. Senate. Imagine that. A senator actually called her out as being an example of perverted morals. As for Robertino, he was born into the eye of the storm. His very existence was the center of this scandal, and that had to have some serious consequences on his life. First off, he had a strained relationship with Hollywood from the get-go. He wasn't just another kid. He was the product of one of the most controversial love affairs of the era. It's one thing to have famous parents, but to be born into a situation where the world views your birth as a scandal? That's a tough legacy to carry. Bergman's career took a huge hit, too. She was shunned by Hollywood for years, which meant that Robertino grew up in a time where his mother's name was often associated with disgrace, rather than the legendary actress she was. She moved to Italy to be with Rossellini, and while her career eventually bounced back, that period was marked by rejection and judgment, not just for her, but for her son, too. Imagine growing up knowing that your birth was the reason your mother was ostracized from an entire industry. That's a lot for a kid to carry. The damage to Robertino wasn't just public, it was personal. Having to grow up in the shadow of such a high-profile affair with parents who were constantly in the media for their turbulent relationship must have been emotionally taxing. His childhood was essentially defined by his parents' scandal, and it's hard to feel like you're living a normal life when the world already has its opinions about your family before you even know what's going on. So, in a way, Robertino's life was shaped, and possibly even damaged, by the choices his parents made and the public's harsh reaction to those choices. He was innocent in all of it, but he still had to deal with the fallout, and that's a burden no child should have to bear. The child that was never born. It's the 1940s, and Gary Cooper is the ultimate Hollywood heartthrob, right? And then you've got Patricia Neal, a talented actress who absolutely adores him. They start this passionate affair, and it's the kind of scandal that makes headlines everywhere. But here's the problem. Cooper was already married, which added a whole layer of drama to the situation. Now, Patricia is head over heels for him, but the reality of their secret relationship weighs heavily on her. Can you imagine being in love with someone who's not really available? It's like being trapped in a plot of a melodrama, but it's real life, and it's messy. Then things get even more intense. Patricia finds out she's pregnant, and it's like a roller coaster ride of emotions. She's excited about the possibility of a new life, but that happiness quickly turns into dread because Cooper, worried about the inevitable scandal, pressures her to terminate the pregnancy. Here's this woman, madly in love, and then faced with a heartbreaking decision that she never saw coming. It's gut-wrenching to think about how alone and devastated she must have felt during that time. After the affair fizzles out, Patricia picks herself up and continues to shine in Hollywood. She earns some serious accolades for her performances, which is great and all, but you can't shake the feeling that that chapter of her life lingers like a shadow. Even with all the success, she later reflects on how this experience haunted her. It's gut-wrenching to think that this child, innocent and unknowing, would never have the chance to laugh, cry, or grow up. There's no opportunity to experience the world, to find their place in it, or even to learn about their famous parents. They're just gone. And it's not because of anything they did, but because of the choices made by the adults around them. This situation not only left Patricia heartbroken, but also brought up feelings of loss and grief that would linger with her for years. It's like carrying an invisible scar that reminds you of what could have been. The world continued to turn, and she moved on with her life and career, but the shadow of that lost child loomed large. Nancy Sinatra. You know, growing up as Nancy Sinatra Jr. was no walk in the park. Imagine being the daughter of the legendary Frank Sinatra, but with the twist that you were born from an affair while he was still married to his first wife, Nancy Barbato. That little tidbit was like a shadow that followed her everywhere, making family life a complicated web of scandal and drama. From the moment she came into the world, there were whispers and gossip swirling around her. Being the child of an extramarital affair put her right in the crosshairs of public scrutiny. The media just wouldn't let up, painting her as part of this huge scandal that stained her father's reputation. Can you imagine that pressure? As a kid, she found herself living under the spotlight, with her father's larger-than-life persona overshadowing her own identity. She wasn't alone, though. She had two older siblings, Frank Jr. and Tina. But even with family around, Nancy often felt like the odd one out. Her relationship with her dad was complicated, too. The weight of his past choices hung heavily over their interactions. Sure, Frank Sinatra was charming and talented, but he was also a guy with a lot of baggage, and sometimes those ghosts seemed to get in the way of the love he had for his kids. As Nancy grew up, she slowly started to piece together the story of her birth and all the circumstances surrounding it. Finding out that she was the product of an affair was a real eye-opener. It wasn't just shocking, it was a heavy burden to carry. This realization changed how she saw family and belonging. While her siblings seemed to have a more straightforward relationship with their dad, Nancy struggled with feelings of alienation and confusion, and let's not even get started on how the media treated her. They constantly compared her to her dad, which only added to the stress. She wanted to carve out her own identity and pursue a music career, but the shadow of Frank Sinatra's fame was both a blessing and a curse. Some days, she felt like she could ride the coattails of his legacy, but other times it felt suffocating, like she could never escape the constant scrutiny that came with being his daughter. Her situation was even trickier because her existence was a painful reminder of Frank's infidelities. While she was trying to make her own way in the music industry, the emotional toll of being Frank Sinatra's daughter weighed heavily on her shoulders. She just wanted a narrative that wasn't tangled up in scandal, a story where she could be seen for who she was, not just as the child of her father's mistakes. As she navigated her career, Nancy faced the ongoing challenge of living with the choices her father made. Even with her successes, the complexities of her upbringing left her grappling with big questions about love, loyalty, and her own identity. Frank was a source of pride, no doubt, but the circumstances of her birth created an emotional landscape that was fraught with confusion and conflict. In the end, Nancy Sinatra Jr.'s journey really highlights the struggles of growing up in the shadow of a famous parent. Her story shows how family secrets can impact one's sense of self and the fight for identity in a world that often wants to define you by your lineage. Despite the weight of her father's legacy, she ultimately sought to forge her own path, trying to balance honoring her family history with establishing her own identity in a world that was always watching. Norman Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, the legendary silent film star famous for his character The Tramp, had quite a roller coaster ride when it came to his personal life. One of the more scandalous parts of his story is his affair with actress Lita Grey. This whole situation not only stirred up a lot of drama in Hollywood, but also had a significant impact on their son, Norman Spencer Chaplin. So, here's how it went down. Charlie was working on the film The Kid when he got involved with Lita, who was just a teenager at the time. Their romance sparked a lot of gossip, especially since Charlie was already a big deal in Hollywood and the age gap made people raise their eyebrows. It was like a classic Hollywood scandal. While plenty of actors were indulging in affairs, Charlie's choices attracted an extra layer of scrutiny because of his fame. When Lita found out she was pregnant, things got even messier. They rushed to get married in 1924, but let's just say the fairy tale didn't last long. Right from the start, their relationship was rocky. Lita later claimed she felt pressured into the marriage, which obviously didn't help the situation. Can you imagine the stress? Then came their son, Norman, born on July 7, 1928. While everyone was excited to welcome the child of such a famous couple, the tension in the family was palpable. Being born into a scandal like this would be hard for any kid. On one hand, you have the thrill of being the child of a superstar, but on the other, you're surrounded by chaos and drama. As the years went on, things really fell apart. Charlie and Lita's marriage turned into a public battleground, with all the juicy details of their fights making headlines. Lita accused Charlie of neglecting his family in favor of his career, which added to the public drama. For Norman, that must have been tough. He was right in the middle of all this conflict, and the media attention was unrelenting. Growing up as Charlie Chaplin's son meant living in a spotlight that could be hard to bear. People were constantly comparing him to his famous father, and the scandal surrounding his parents was always lurking in the background. It's like Norman had to carry the weight of not just being Chaplin's kid, but also dealing with the fallout from a marriage that was anything but smooth. In the end, Norman Spencer Chaplin's story highlights the challenges of growing up in a world filled with fame and scandal. While his father was a beloved figure in film history, the chaotic nature of his family life created a complicated legacy for Norman. He had to navigate the complexities of identity and self-worth, all while trying to make sense of the drama that surrounded his family. It's a reminder that behind the glitz and glamour, there are real stories of struggle and resilience. Katie Wagner. You know, the story of Robert Wagner and his daughter Katie Wagner is quite the fascinating one. So, Robert Wagner, the charming actor known for his roles in classic films and hit TV shows, had a brief relationship with actress Marion Marshall, and from that romance came Katie. Now imagine being born into this whirlwind of Hollywood drama. Katie's birth came with its fair share of complications. Robert was a rising star, and Marion was no slouch either, but the relationship was short-lived. They weren't together for long, and soon after, Wagner went on to marry the stunning Natalie Wood, which added a whole new layer of complexity to Katie's life. Growing up, Katie found herself navigating this chaotic family landscape. It must have been tough, with her father's high-profile marriage to Natalie Wood, who was one of the biggest stars of the era. Katie was often caught in the crossfire of public attention. You can only imagine the pressure of living up to that legacy. Katie often felt like she was trying to carve out her own identity while living in the shadow of her father's fame and the incredible talent of her stepmother. Every time someone brought up her father, they would also mention Natalie, which had to be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it meant she had a famous father, but on the other, it meant she was constantly compared to two larger-than-life figures. It was like trying to find her own voice in a chorus of celebrity. And let's be honest, Hollywood can be a tough place to grow up, especially when you're the daughter of someone like Robert Wagner. It's not just about being the child of a famous actor. It's about dealing with the intricacies of family relationships that come with that fame. Katie's experience highlights the complexities many children of stars face. Even though Robert Wagner loved her and wanted the best for her, the dynamics of his relationships and the scrutiny from the media must have been challenging for her. It's a classic tale of trying to navigate a path when everyone else seems to have their eyes on your family drama, making it difficult to define who you are outside of that narrative. Ultimately, Katie Wagner's story is a reminder of the challenges that come with having a famous parent. It's a delicate dance of trying to embrace that legacy while also striving to stand out on her own terms.
Margaret Lockwood's journey through the world of acting was not just a career. It was a rebellion against the conventional, a series of choices that marked her as cinema's captivating contrarian. From her early days on the stage to her reign as the queen of Gainsborough melodramas, Lockwood defied expectations, choosing roles that challenged and transcended the traditional confines of female characters in British cinema. But what drove her to these choices? Was it a deliberate defiance, a personal inclination, or simply the allure of the complex and the controversial? And how did this contrarian path affect her, both as an actress and as a person living in the relentless spotlight of fame? As we peel back the layers of Margaret Lockwood's illustrious career, we uncover the stories of ambition, passion, and complexity. We delve into her iconic roles, from the virtuous to the villainous, and explore how these characters became inextricably linked with Lockwood's off-screen persona. We trace her journey through the war years, a time that tested her resolve and reshaped her career, and follow her transition to the stage and television, where she continued to captivate audiences with her versatility and depth. This is an homage to Margaret Lockwood, a woman whose legacy in British cinema is as enduring as it is enigmatic. Join us as we explore the life and career of cinema's captivating contrarian, a woman who lived her life with the same intensity and complexity as the characters she brought to life on screen. Prepare to be captivated by the story of Margaret Lockwood, a true icon of British cinema. Early life and ascent to stardom. Margaret Lockwood, born on September 15, 1916, in Karachi, British India, now Pakistan, embarked on a journey that would see her become one of Britain's most beloved film stars. Her early life, marked by a move to London at a young age, laid the foundation for a career that would span decades and ingrain her in the annals of British cinema history. This chapter delves into the formative years of Lockwood's life, her entry into the world of acting, and the pivotal roles that catapulted her to stardom, setting her on a path to becoming cinema's captivating contrarian. Lockwood's interest in acting was nurtured from a young age, influenced by her mother, who encouraged her to pursue her passion for the stage. This support led her to attend the Italia Conti Academy of Theatre Arts in London, where she honed her craft and prepared for a career in acting. Lockwood's early experiences in theater, including her professional debut in 1934 in a production of The Lash, were instrumental in developing her skills and presence as an actress. These formative years in the theater were crucial, providing her with the discipline and versatility that would become hallmarks of her career. Lockwood's transition from the stage to the screen was marked by her film debut in Lorna Doone, 1934, a minor role that nonetheless offered her valuable experience in the burgeoning British film industry. However, it was her performance in The Man in Grey, 1943, that truly marked her ascent to stardom. In this film, part of the Gainsborough melodramas, Lockwood's portrayal of the malevolent Hester Shaw showcased her ability to captivate audiences with her complex characterizations, setting her apart from her contemporaries. The Man in Grey was a turning point for Lockwood, both professionally and personally. The film's success catapulted her to fame, establishing her as a leading lady in British cinema. It also marked the beginning of her long-standing collaboration with Gainsborough Studios, where she would go on to star in a series of melodramas that capitalized on her unique blend of elegance, intensity, and depth. Films such as Love Story, 1944, and The Wicked Lady, 1945, further solidified her status as a cinematic icon, with Lockwood's performances earning critical acclaim and drawing audiences with their blend of romance, intrigue, and drama. Lockwood's ascent to stardom was not without its challenges. The British film industry, like its Hollywood counterpart, was a male-dominated field, with limited roles for women that often relegated them to secondary status. Lockwood's choice of roles, often strong, complex women who defied societal expectations, was both a reflection of her personal convictions and a strategic career move. By choosing such roles, Lockwood not only challenged the industry's gender norms, but also carved out a niche for herself as an actress capable of delivering powerful performances that resonated with audiences. The Gainsborough melodramas.
Margaret Lockwood's career took a definitive turn with her roles in the Gainsborough melodramas during the 1940s, a period that not only marked her ascent to stardom, but also saw her becoming the embodiment of a certain kind of on-screen femininity that was both alluring and complex. The Gainsborough melodramas, known for their lavish costumes, intricate plots, and emotional intensity, provided the perfect backdrop for Lockwood to showcase her range as an actress. This chapter delves into her involvement in these films, focusing on how they shaped her public persona and contributed to her image as cinema's captivating contrarian. The Gainsborough melodramas were a series of films produced by Gainsborough Pictures, which became immensely popular in wartime Britain. They were characterized by their romantic and often scandalous narratives, which stood in stark contrast to the realities of wartime austerity. Lockwood's roles in these films, particularly in The Man in Grey, 1943, and The Wicked Lady, 1945, catapulted her to the status of a national icon. In The Man in Grey, Lockwood's portrayal of the malevolent Hester Shaw revealed her ability to inhabit morally complex characters, challenging the audience's perceptions and sympathies. Her performance in The Wicked Lady further cemented her status as a leading lady capable of carrying a film with her nuanced portrayal of Barbara Worth, a character driven by passion and ambition. Lockwood's roles in these melodramas were significant for several reasons. Firstly, they allowed her to break away from the more traditional roles assigned to women in British cinema, offering her opportunities to explore characters with depth, agency, and complexity. Secondly, these roles resonated with the British public, who were drawn to the escapism offered by the melodramas. Lockwood's characters, often women who defied societal norms and pursued their desires unabashedly, offered a form of vicarious liberation to audiences confined by the strictures of wartime Britain. The impact of the Gainsborough melodramas on Lockwood's career was profound. They established her as a versatile actress capable of drawing audiences into the emotional landscapes of her characters. Moreover, these films showcased Lockwood's ability to navigate the dualities of her roles, women who were at once desirable and dangerous, vulnerable and powerful. This complexity made her performances stand out and contributed to her lasting legacy in British cinema. However, Lockwood's association with the melodramas also presented challenges. The typecasting inherent in her success with these films meant that she had to work harder to find roles that allowed her to step outside the melodramatic genre and demonstrate her range as an actress. Despite these challenges, Lockwood's work in the Gainsborough melodramas remains a testament to her skill, charisma, and enduring appeal as an actress. Iconic roles and performances. Beyond the Gainsborough melodramas, Lockwood's career was marked by a series of roles that showcased her ability to navigate a wide range of characters, from the ingenue to the femme fatale, each imbued with her unique blend of charisma and complexity. This chapter explores some of Lockwood's most memorable performances, highlighting how these roles contributed to her enduring legacy in British cinema. One of Lockwood's most celebrated roles came early in her career with Alfred Hitchcock's The Lady Vanishes, 1938. In this film, Lockwood played Iris Henderson, a young woman who becomes embroiled in a mystery when a fellow passenger disappears on a train journey across Europe. Lockwood's performance was pivotal to the film's success, blending strength and vulnerability in a way that captivated audiences and critics alike. The Lady Vanishes not only solidified Hitchcock's reputation as a master of suspense, but also demonstrated Lockwood's capacity for leading roles that required a delicate balance of determination and nuance. Following her success in the Gainsborough melodramas, Lockwood continued to explore complex characters, notably in The Wicked Lady, 1945. Her portrayal of Barbara Worth, a character driven by ambition and desire, was both controversial and compelling, challenging post-war British society's expectations of women. Lockwood's ability to elicit sympathy for an ostensibly immoral character spoke volumes about her skill and presence as an actress. Another significant role was in Jassy, 1947, where Lockwood played a Romany woman endowed with the gift of second sight, accused of witchcraft. This role allowed Lockwood to delve into a character that was both outside the societal norms and rich with emotional depth, further showcasing her range and contributing to the film's success. Lockwood's performances were not confined to the silver screen. Her stage work, particularly in plays such as Peter Pan and Private Lives, demonstrated her versatility and commitment to her craft. These theatrical roles allowed Lockwood to engage with her audience in a more intimate setting, bringing a different dimension to her performances and allowing her to explore the nuances of her characters in real time. Throughout her career, Lockwood navigated the changing landscape of British cinema with grace and adaptability. Her choice of roles reflected not only her personal interests and challenges, but also her keen understanding of the industry and her audience. Lockwood's performances, characterized by their emotional depth and complexity, challenged the conventional portrayals of women on screen, offering audiences a glimpse into the lives of fully realized, multifaceted characters. Margaret Lockwood's iconic roles and performances left an indelible mark on British cinema. Her ability to captivate audiences, coupled with her willingness to explore complex and often controversial characters, cemented her status as one of Britain's most beloved actresses. The contrarian persona on and off screen. Margaret Lockwood's public persona was as multifaceted and intriguing as the characters she portrayed on screen. Known for her captivating performances and complex roles, Lockwood also exhibited a strong, independent spirit in her personal life, often making choices that defied the expectations of her time. This chapter delves into Lockwood's off-screen personality, her interactions with the press and public, and how her personal convictions influenced her career and public image. Lockwood's career choices reflected a contrarian streak that set her apart from her contemporaries. She was not content to be pigeonholed into the traditional roles available to women in the film industry of her era. Instead, she sought out and thrived in roles that offered depth and nuance, portraying women who were not just romantic interests or damsels in distress, but complex individuals with their own stories and agency. This approach to her career was indicative of Lockwood's broader views on women's roles in society and the film industry, where she advocated for greater representation and complexity in female characters. Off-screen, Lockwood was known for her wit, intelligence, and a certain degree of privacy. She managed to maintain a balance between her public persona and her private life, a feat in an era when the private lives of film stars were increasingly becoming fodder for public consumption. Lockwood's interactions with the press were marked by a savvy understanding of the power of media, using interviews and public appearances to craft an image that was both accessible and enigmatic. Despite her success and popularity, Lockwood was not immune to the challenges faced by women in the entertainment industry. She navigated the pressures of fame with a pragmatic approach, making strategic decisions that allowed her to pursue the roles she wanted while maintaining a level of control over her career. Her ability to do so was partly due to her talent and partly due to her understanding of the industry's dynamics, which she used to her advantage. Lockwood's personal life, particularly her relationships and role as a mother, also reflected her independent spirit. She was a devoted mother to her daughter, Julia Lockwood, and worked to balance her career with her responsibilities as a parent. This aspect of her life, though less publicized, was an essential part of her identity and influenced her choices in roles and projects. The legacy of Margaret Lockwood's contrarian persona extends beyond her filmography. She was a trailblazer in many ways, challenging the norms of her time and paving the way for future generations of actresses. Her insistence on complex, strong-willed characters helped to broaden the scope of roles available to women in British cinema, contributing to a gradual shift in how female characters were portrayed on screen. Margaret Lockwood's life and career were a study in contrasts. On screen, she was often the epitome of grace and mystery, captivating audiences with her performances. Off-screen, she was a woman of conviction and independence, navigating the complexities of fame and personal life with intelligence and grace. Her persona, both on and off the screen, remains a compelling aspect of her legacy, making her one of British cinema's most enduring and fascinating figure. The war years and beyond. The war years marked a pivotal period in Margaret Lockwood's career, reflecting a time when the entertainment industry was deeply intertwined with the national war effort. Lockwood's roles during this period took on a new dimension, as British cinema sought to boost morale and support the war effort. Post-war, her career transitioned as she embraced new opportunities in television and stage, showcasing her versatility as an actress. During World War II, British cinema played a crucial role in maintaining public morale. Lockwood starred in The Lady Vanishes, 1938, directed by Alfred Hitchcock before the war's outbreak, which became a significant success both in the UK and internationally. However, it was her work in films such as Love Story, 1944, where she played a concert pianist who goes blind, that resonated with wartime audiences. The film, released amidst the backdrop of the war, showcased Lockwood's ability to portray resilience and strength, qualities that mirrored the national sentiment. In 1945, as the war concluded, Lockwood's career continued to flourish with the release of The Wicked Lady, 1945, a film that became one of the highest-grossing British films of the decade. Her portrayal of Barbara Worth, a character who becomes a highwaywoman, captivated post-war audiences, eager for escapism and intrigued by Lockwood's complex portrayal of her character's ambition and defiance. As British cinema transitioned in the post-war years, so did Lockwood's career. The late 1940s and 1950s saw her taking on roles that were reflective of the changing societal attitudes and the film industry's evolution. Films like Highly Dangerous, 1950, where Lockwood played a scientist sent behind the Iron Curtain, showcased her in roles that broke away from traditional stereotypes, aligning with the era's growing interest in spy thrillers and Cold War narratives. Lockwood's transition to television and stage in the 1950s and 1960s marked a new chapter in her career. She embraced the medium of television, appearing in productions such as Justice, 1971 to 1974, a legal drama series that offered her the lead role as Harriet Peterson, a barrister navigating the complexities of law and justice. This role, among others, demonstrated Lockwood's adaptability and continued appeal as an actress, allowing her to reach new audiences and explore different facets of her craft. Her stage work during this period included notable performances in productions such as Peter Pan and Private Lives, where Lockwood's stage presence and performance depth were on full display. These roles allowed her to engage with live audiences, bringing a different dimension to her acting and further solidifying her status as a versatile and skilled performer. The stage and television. In the 1950s, as the allure of cinema began to compete with the rising popularity of television, Lockwood, like many of her contemporaries, explored opportunities in this new medium. Television offered a platform for more intimate storytelling and character development, aspects that played to Lockwood's strengths as an actress known for her depth and nuance. One of her significant television roles came in the early 1970s with the legal drama series Justice. Lockwood starred as Harriet Peterson, a barrister navigating the complexities of the legal system and championing the cause of justice. This role allowed Lockwood to portray a strong, intelligent woman breaking barriers in a male-dominated profession, themes that resonated with her career-long penchant for playing pioneering female characters. Justice ran for several seasons, affirming Lockwood's status as a television star and introducing her to a new generation of viewers. Parallel to her television work, Lockwood's passion for the stage saw a revival. The theater offered her the opportunity to engage with live audiences, bringing an immediacy and energy that differed from her film and television roles. Her stage work included a variety of productions, from classic plays to contemporary dramas, allowing her to explore a range of characters and themes. One notable stage appearance was in the production of Peter Pan, where Lockwood played Mrs. Darling. The role leveraged her maternal warmth and elegance, qualities that had endeared her to film audiences in a setting that highlighted her versatility and stage presence. Another significant stage role was in Noel Coward's Private Lives, where she showcased her comedic timing and ability to capture the complexities of romantic entanglements. The legacy of a contrarian icon. Margaret Lockwood's foray into television and stage during the latter part of her career underscores her adaptability and enduring talent. By embracing these new arenas, she demonstrated a willingness to evolve with the industry and explore the breadth of her abilities as a performer. Her success in television and theater contributed to her legacy as one of Britain's most versatile and beloved actresses, whose career spanned the changing dynamics of the entertainment world. Lockwood's transition from cinema to television and stage also reflects broader trends in the entertainment industry during the mid-20th century, as actors sought to diversify their portfolios and engage with audiences across different mediums. Her ability to maintain relevance and acclaim across cinema, television, and theater is a testament to her skill, dedication, and the indelible mark she left on the performing arts. Giovanni Jackson, Daddy's Girl.